So, what do you think about making VeggieTales Islam?
Oh my gosh.
Let's get you in trouble real quick.
What a horrible digital footprint can go crazy.
Anyway, yeah, the jinn. Do you have any questions for me? You're just here to hang out.
I'm here to hang out, but mostly. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, go on.
No, I was just a seal for a second.
Oh. No, it's just like I feel like I don't know. Oh wow. I don't know. I feel like lately it's just like I really want to like evangelize people. I don't know if that's my calling. I don't know what it is. I'm not sure what it is, but I just have to find a way to like really like just strategize and go with that. But I just don't know what the best approach is every time because like, you know, some people have been hurt. Some people like have been hurt from Christian people. Some people don't even believe in God at all. So it's like every time it's like you have to find a good approach. So that's what I'm trying to find out about.
Yeah.
To answer the IJP, sorry, go ahead. I was going to say to answer the IJP Mexican, the Frieza saga.
No, Frieza, yeah.
Yeah, the Frieza saga is probably the best.
If we're talking about Dragon Ball Z Abridged,
the Cell Saga, the Abridged is crazy.
Dude, the Abridged Cell Saga is choice. That is amazing. Anyway,
but if you watch
experience to go experience that.
If you watch Z Kai, the Frieza saga is impeccable. Like the pacing is so much better than the original. It like updated graphics. It's phenomenal. So Frieza saga.
You talking about Dragon Ball Z?
He said just Dragon Ball in general. I don't think anything in Dragon Ball compares to anything in Z, and I don't think anything in Super compares to anything in Z either. And I think the Frieza saga is the best in Z. So.
Yep.
Wait, Christian is in the group chat, right?
Yes. Yeah, finally.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean I was are you talking about on Discord?
Yeah.
I'm catching fart breath.
Yeah.
I tried to rewatch Dragon Ball Z, but then they had like 15 episodes and he was just building the spirit bomb, and he threw it and he missed, and I was like, I'm out. That made me so mad. It took forever.
No, yeah, that kind of just happens with all anime. Unfortunately, Akira Toriyama, there just wasn't enough manga out for them to be doing some of that stuff. Okay, so current name potential candidates, we have Halali Tales.
Oh,
did y'all see my comment? I said instead of vegetables, we should have different types of explosives. They're the talking characters. So it'd be like Junior C4, Bob the Dynamite, and then what's the Larry the Claymore,
Larry the Claymore, Larry the Concussion.
One of them has to be an IED. Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, the IED is the Muslim one. It's the halal one. Also, I think your audience don't understand at all what's happening, which is even funnier for them. Also, Leaf, nice to see you. He was one of the guys I was hanging out with this last weekend. But
he's on my buddies too.
Dude, Halal Garden Tales.
Yeah, if they were vegetables, we get, because if they're explosives, they just blow up. It's like, okay, well, what else do they do?
Mm-hmm.
If they're vegetables, they can go through and live through like the Alexander story in Surah 18.
Right.
They watch the fish come back to life, and Moses is there, said Alexander. But they can help out Solomon and his bird army. That'd be a fun episode.
Yeah.
True. And
you have a bunch of like little berries walking around as the ants.
Could you imagine Could you imagine just at the end of the episode, it's like, and so what we have learned. Okay. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, the moral lessons would be like, and that's why you never insult the prophet or you will get your head cut off.
This is why you follow the Sunnah. It's just the Night of Elsa or him and Aisha. Yeah. Anyway, there was an actual question asked earlier on how to do evangelism.
Not like
I
this.
don't want to interrupt because you guys got into the conversation, so I'm like, okay, my question didn't get answered. Whatever.
You can absolutely interrupt whenever we're just talking about Dragon Ball Z.
And Lily, you need to take your time and get comfortable and feel at home here because you are hysterical in the group chat. And so I know you're going to shine on a stream eventually. Whenever maybe you need to get liquored up or something. But
I don't think
she makes me laugh, man. Or like the GIF she'll put or whatever. God, I was laughing so hard. I'm going to be right back. I'm going to get another light to put in front of me so I can look as good as Chase does right now. I'll be right back.
Ooh. Yes.
Apparently, I look
he has
good.
those very kissable eyes. Anyway, so how to do evangelism?
Depending on the person, like depending, like how do you, for example, how do you approach someone who's an atheist? How do you approach someone who's been hurt by a Christian? How do you approach someone who has been hurt by the church? Like it's like different scenarios, different people, because like you're gonna be around whoever, right? Like it just like you just have to know the right approach. But I guess it just depends from one person to another. But yeah, I guess what would be the question would be what would be the common thing for everyone to just like arouse their curiosity? Dude, I've been wanting to get that book. Yeah,
you've been wanting to get it.
I've been wanting to get it too. Like,
just listen to it. It's only like 8 hours on Audible.
Oh.
Yeah. So the book goes through basically that question of how do you go about approaching. Oh, Robert's joined. Let's make it a party. How do you go about approaching different types of people, and how then do you come to what the best question would be? And ultimately, you do that by asking questions. So if it's an atheist, you figure out, okay, do they have an emotional problem with God, or do they have an intellectual problem with God? Even if they claim to have an intellectual problem with God, they likely have an emotional problem with God. So you can try to peel away the onion layers through their belief systems, and then get to, okay, what is the root cause? Then what question can I ask in order to show the inconsistencies within their worldview? And then once you can do that, you can plant the seed of truth into them. Like, oh, they're all relativist. If they're a relativist, you ask them, is that true? And they can't answer yes or no, because that would be a falsification of their belief system. So they say, it depends. If they actually answer with it depends, then you're like, okay, well, why should I be one? And then they can't answer anything because, again, that would be a truth claim. So they can't make any truth claims. So understanding the base flaws in most of the major worldviews helps with conversations a lot. Then getting comfortable going through the gospel message helps the most. But
okay, I think I know what the name should be.
Whatever Chris said, I just agree with it.
Oh.
Thanks. Anyone else want to add in something?
What was the question? I missed it.
How to do evangelism.
Oh my gosh, that's such a broad topic, right? How to do evangelism. You know, I kind of take the approach. I've done some minor street preaching, and to me, it didn't really sit super well. Just because it felt just too impersonal for me personally. It just felt like I was, which, I mean, there was the fun part of being able to talk to people about the Lord, but, you know, I find it best, at least for my life, is just to get to know people on a personal level. And like Chris said, kind of figure out what their worldview is and just be ready with a defense whenever they have a question. Lots of skeptics I have found in my life are kind of curious actually about Christian worldview. At least the ones that like didn't really grow up with Christianity. They just are kind of curious about it. So it's just fun to talk with them and answer questions and be honest. You know, if you don't know something, just say, hey, I don't know that, but I can look into it for you if you'd like. And for me, it's just about building that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Don't ever fake an answer if you don't actually know. Just say, I don't know.
Yes.
That will always be not only better for the person, they'd also respect you more to admit that you have something you don't know.
Yeah, but I feel like sometimes that backfires. I don't know. It is a wrong way of like being just like creating an answer, hoping for it to be like the right answer. Because like you go back and Google it. I was actually right or whatever. But it's like they question you. But if you can't answer, they'd be like, oh, you don't even know the answer to that question. So how are you a Christian? So it's like sometimes you don't have all the answers.
That's a them problem, dog.
Yeah, that sounds like really hostile.
That sounds like they're just being a douche.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
Because like there's yeah, go on. Sorry.
I was just gonna give an example. So last weekend at the conference we did street preaching, and with the Muslims it's a very set thing. Like people are interested, like they're just coming out of the mosque because we went to the mosque for the Friday prayer and sermon. So all the people are just like praying. They were just thinking about God, so they're in the mood to talk about religion and truth. So that's a very unique environment versus like going out and just talking to people on the streets. There are like, especially like restaurants, so like they're thinking about food, they're thinking about their job, they're thinking about anxiety, like they're not thinking about God. So going to those people can oftentimes be way more hostile than if you were to be at like a set place and have like a banner, be like, hey, I'm a Christian. Do you want to discuss the truth, or do you want to discuss what happens after you die? Because then the people will be primed and thinking about it. I went up to several people to just ask them if they knew Jesus, and I went up to this one lady. My spirit was like, there's something off about her. I go up to her and was like, hey, do you want to talk about what you believe about God? And she said, no, I'm a pagan. And I was like, okay, all right. And I was like, okay, well, do you want to, why is that? Why'd you become a pagan? She was like, just because it's all, well, she was cursing significantly more than I will, which is not. So she was, cursing me out, but she's like, oh, it's all just stupid. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry that you believe that or you feel that way. Do you feel like you were hurt by God? Or she's like, blah, like just cursing. And I was like, okay, well, God loves you. And she's like, I hate him. I was like, well, you're a pagan, so you don't believe in him. At least not, but it was just like that woman was obviously some form of demon possessed or demon oppressed. And I probably should have just tried to cast the demon out of her, but we were in a very public area. So I let my insecurity hold me back from doing what I probably should have done at that moment, which was be more direct with that. But yeah, so you'll get lots of different types. You'll see demons manifest, and that's an interesting. I've only cast out demons once, but I've seen demons manifest a number of times. I've seen other people cast out demons. There's one time where my dad was casting out a demon in the parking lot of the church, and the guy was just, cursing and being very angry. And then he said, you got a demon in you? I command that, or I cast that out of you in the name of Jesus. And the guy just vomited, like uncontrollably vomited. And he's like, how many demons you got on you? And then he cast out another demon, then he vomited again. And he cast out another demon, then he vomited again. The guy had 3 demons in him. And every single time one came out, he looked a little bit better, but he vomited each time. And then by the end of it, he was just weeping. He was just on his knees crying. And then he gave his life to Christ. So you have a wide range of experiences you'll get doing street preaching, encountering people. The Holy Spirit will guide you if you let him. You don't have to know what to do in that situation. God will tell you what to do, and just have to trust that it's God guiding you, as long as it's not like, hey, go stab that person, because that's not going to be God's desire for your evangelism.
Unless you're Muslim.
But if it's like unless you're yeah.
But would you say that like you planted seed in that woman, or you don't think so?
I have no idea.
Okay.
That was something I was thinking about the other day. Was we always talk about conversions, but there's a whole lot of people that Jesus impacts in the New Testament. We have no idea what the end of the story is. So, like a lot of the people that he heals or interacts with, it doesn't say, and then they went on to become a street preacher. You know, we don't even know if they changed their lives. And so I think there's actually something of real value in just loving people and ministering to them, even if it doesn't lead to a conversion necessarily. But go out there and make friendships and share the truth that you know.
Right.
And make that a goal along with conversions also. But friendships in themselves can be a goal. Not as amazing of a goal as a conversion, but still it's a goal in itself.
Okay, just to clarify, when we say street preaching, are we talking street evangelism or street corner proclaiming the gospel?
Either.
For me, I'm just
There are different contexts.
Street evangelism.
Okay.
I guess me and my buddies. Well, my buddy, I guess it's his idea, his brilliant idea. But he just had a sign that was like, "Can we pray for you?" And we would just kind of sit out during a busy night in town and just see who wanted prayer, and just kind of go out and talk with people and see what they knew about the gospel and whatnot.
Right. So, I had the privilege of speaking with a number of missionaries over the years, and one of the missionaries, he drew a distinction, not that like this is like, set in stone, but like to me, whenever I hear street preaching, I always think about this guy, because what he would do is he would literally go around with an apple box and he would stand on it and he would yell, he would just like preach in the street in South America. And he told me the story. He was like, he said one time whenever I was mentoring one of my other evangelist, missionary people who are coming out to live with us in our and do evangelistic ministerial work out there. He said, I want you to I want you to learn how to street preach, because the guy was familiar with how to evangelize and to share the gospel with someone, talk to another person one-on-one, but street preaching is kind of a whole different ballgame. And like your George Whitfields and your John Wesleys and those kinds of people, those were like the street preachers. But he said you have to get something to grab their attention. So what he did is he carried his Bible in a satchel, and it had a long handle, almost like a purse, but for your Bible. And he carried it, and he threw it on the ground, and he took his foot and he kind of looped it in the loop of the handle, and he started shaking it, and he goes, "It's alive!" But he's screaming all this in Spanish and stuff, and he's like, he's freaking out, and everybody's like, well, they're kind of gathering around to see what's happening, and he picks it up, and his hand is shaking, and he opens it up, and he said, "It's the word of God is alive," and then he starts street preaching. So every time I hear somebody say that they've gone street preaching, I'm always like, that's exactly what happened. And I refuse to understand otherwise.
They love a bit of that in America.
Dude, I'm sure you would probably get cursed off of the street if you tried to pull something like that in a crowded area in the United States.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to learn that the V is an N in Greek? It took me about 2 days to get used to it.
It is
not even answering.
It is an open.
You're talking to me?
Yeah, it literally says tech fly.
Oh, it took me 15 years
to get past the V in the end.
I'm just kidding. It didn't take very long.
The call is open.
The more confusing one is the V in Latin is pronounced like a W. Which makes it so in English it sounds so epic to say I came, I saw, I conquered. But in like classical Latin, it would be like wee weenie weeky. It sounds so much dumber. It sounds so much cooler in English.
Cyrillic is actually pretty crazy. Wasn't Cyrillic invented by Christians to like translate the Bible into a language that the Russian people could read?
Yeah, they were trying to convert all the Rus because they were so savage. They're trying to domesticate them, so they
I'm
wanted to
pretty
spread
sure that's.
Christianity.
Hang on, I gotta see.
Yeah, it's two monks. It's two monks, and there's a whole lot of overlap between the Greek alphabet and the Cyrillic alphabet. And the older Cyrillic alphabet had even more. Yeah, that is what it sounds like. The older Cyrillic alphabet had even more letters than the modern Russian one. That's the same as Greek. Like it had the feet, the circle with the line going down.
Cyril and Methodius. So the founder of Method. No, I'm just kidding. Cyril and Methodius invented the earlier Glagolitic script, if I'm reading that correctly, at the Preslav Literary School in the First Bulgarian Empire. Saint Clement of Ohrid. 9th and 10th centuries. Yeah, they literally did not have a written language. So they're like, all right, we'll make one up.
There you go. But how would that be pronounced?
Gesundheit.
For
real. How to be pronounced what?
How would you say that in Hebrew?
I came, I conquered?
Yeah.
I don't know. That would be what? Aniba, Ani Roa, and then I don't know conquered in Hebrew.
No, you say it like this. We came, we saw, we conquered.
Oh, we conquered.
If it's we, it'd be Nachnu. So it'd be,
no, my fault. I conquered.
Nachnu, Bayim, Nachnu, Roim, and then Nachnu, whatever conquerors in Hebrew.
Moses came, he saw, he didn't do no conquering though.
Long as it's all done
Bosch.
for Friday night, that's all that matters to me. Yep.
Bosch. Interesting. You have the Kavash, big Kavashti instead. So whenever I googled it, it said Likbosh, and then it said, oh, related forms is Kavash, and then you put the Kavashti there. So he didn't have any of the we's. Those are just the three nouns in plural. So ba is to come, then uroe is to see, and then kavash is to conquer. So it's bati, rati, and then kavashti in Hebrew.
Nice.
Sounds like the name of a late 90s grunge metal band. Batty Ratty Kavashti.
I need to increase my Hebrew lexicon. I just don't have a very good gloss in any of the languages I know.
I
spend more time in dictionaries.
I took Hebrew in the Christian college I went to and failed it pretty miserably, actually. But I will remember till the end of time that Zakane is wisdom, because the professor brought in a cane and he was like, this means wisdom. And if you got your vocabulary word, you know, he hit you with it. Now, obviously, that was because everyone was supposed to remember the word except for me. So I just got like tapped on the head with his cane.
Nice.
Yeah.
Man, back in the day, whenever teachers would just straight up abuse you at school, those were the days.
Yep. Yep.
Man. When were y'all going to
all
school?
These spoiled brats.
I miss corporal.
You said what?
Corporal punishment.
I miss corporal punishment. They got to bring that back.
In the schools.
Absolutely.
Well,
absolutely.
Dog.
You gotta.
I'm not letting the state lay a hand on my kid, bro. Get that out of here.
My dad grew up in Raven County, Georgia. Like the teachers would go, and he like knew that if you got some of like the smaller teachers mad, then they couldn't really spank you, but they would call like the coach in from the gym to go and just like whip you with something. And then you'd go home and mama would get a switch and hit you with that because you screwed up at school.
See, that's fine. Like, I don't care about like in-home disciplinary action. But like the thought of allowing the government of the United States to lay a hand on my child is insane. Like, no.
It was a different time back then, back in the 70s.
I don't think that the government has been any better.
Oh, you get away with back then.
I mean, if you go to
John F.
You got other
Kennedy is not
countries,
having
it's
anything to
still
do with
that
my
way.
kid, dog.
So variation. He said I had a marker thrown at me from the teacher in speaking class, and the principal threw hands with another kid, which I absolutely believe. He was in Lebanon during that, so
Oh man,
you just
Anything flew in
rules don't
Lebanon,
play.
bro.
Hello. Wow, you're much older than I was expecting you to be.
Salam.
Salam al Masih.
That was
Hey, brother.
I was not prepared. Hi, hi,
Hello.
hi, Christian Gadfly. Saludos desde Chile. ¿Cómo está el español?
Todo está bien, gracias. Gracias por preguntarme. Es un placer conocerte. ¿Eres de Chile?
Muy bien. De Chile, estoy
Chile,
en
Ah, qué bueno.
Viña del Mar, en Valparaíso, Viña del Mar.
¿Has comido Chocapic? ¿Has comido Chocapic?
Últimamente no. It's a cereal, chocolate cereal for the rest.
I miss it. I had that when I was a kid. There was a cereal down there called Chocapic. Can't buy it here. Had a dog on the cover.
Yes.
Cuando vivía ahí, vi un montón de what was the name? Supercampeones. It was when I lived down there was a cartoon called Supercampeones that was like an anime that was
an anime,
where they would
Japanese
take
anime.
the soccer ball and it would catch on fire and yeah.
Blue Lock?
Long Beach, it was a huge stadium, 3 chapters to reach the other goal.
Yeah.
Japanese anime, Dragon Ball battles, one battle, 6 episodes.
We were talking about the same thing with Dragon Ball Z, where it takes like 15 episodes just to power up a spell to throw at the other guy.
I am older. I was a kid in the 70s and early 80s. So,
¿Has visto Chava del Ocho?
Mexican, yes, for sure.
Era en el televisor en Chile también.
Sí, en la tele, en televisión, el Chavo del Ocho, el profesor Chapatín, el Chapulín Colorado.
Okay.
The same team of Mexican.
Yeah, goofball stuff.
Yes.
That was a very silly show. That show, you could understand it even if you barely understood Spanish. Just like watching what they were doing.
It's a classic.
Yeah, it was a classic.
Mexican. So yes, very good. Guys, this is a brief call. I'm happy, but most of the time it's when on the other channels it's about debating Islam. I'm not Muslim, so I have nothing to do with those calls. But sometimes it's about open. Like today, I want to say thanks to you, to Chris, for his channel, Talmudic Dilemma. For me, that was very opening. To open my mind. I have no idea about that. So congratulations. Keep it going. I have one briefly an advice about two things. I am new to Christianity. My background is Jew. I was not an Orthodox Jew. Nothing of that exists in Chile, or maybe some people, but the rest of my life I was quite secular, I will say. Your traditional you, secular you. That is, after the school, today I will not keep most of the religion. I was never very religious. The sound is okay? Sound?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah, it sounds
okay.
fun.
Okay. That's my life, my religious life. And later, obviously, Chile is a Christian country. South America, Catholic, some evangelical, Protestant,
right.
Pentecostal, a lot. So lately, I was interested in Christianity. I started for various reasons, including October 7th. Some popped up David Wood and AP about Israel. I went to all the rabbit hole, and all of you and all the other guys, etc., about Islam and Christianity, blah, 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 yet another stuff in my life. So I think I am Christian in some way. At least I believe Jesus is Lord, etc. All that I believe in my heart, but I don't have I still don't go to a church, nothing like that until today. I have two questions: advice, maybe some book, some video, two issues. One thing in my mind sometimes is uh, a voice in my head when I am reading, but still in background in my head is maybe all this is just nice stories, myths, legends, very important, a very beautiful message, peaceful message, etc. But that como like that, a kind of atheist book in my mind. This book, maybe it's just a beautiful story. I try to answer myself with I have asked you, Chris, maybe with David, have a stream dedicated, devoted especially to this science and religion that you talked. He has talked about you two, but maybe together. That's what that's me. A first thing I want some advice, a video, book, I don't know, type to about my atheist voice that still sometimes is in my head. That's the first thing.
Okay, so just dealing with the doubts of God's existence.
Yes, maybe I will add at the second issue. Maybe it it's related.
Okay.
For a long time, most of my adult life, I was I am a psychologist. Indeed, my thesis to graduate from psychology school, it was about Ken Wilber. It's a thinker, Buddhist, but I think IP, Mac Jones, called that perennialism. The view that all religions are different perspectives on the same spiritual world, God, spiritual world, God, the chain of being, the stages of evolution, mysticism, the stage you have to go through, and you can find that mystic state in Christianity, in Buddhism, Hinduism, whatever, and you go through those stages and you get enlightenment. You are enlightened. That's what that that was my view until very recently. But I was not a practicing Buddhist, nothing like that. All very intellectual. But that was my view. That's the other book in my I don't know how to call it perennialist view. Maybe that's the name. So when I think of God for many years, that's what okay. I was sure, I am sure, I was the case sure that exists a spiritual realm of some kind, maybe reincarnation. I don't know. Until recently, that was my general view, a very vague view of that. So, if God exists, yes, but it was from that angle, not the Christian or Jewish God. That, that's my
right.
That's my situation until very recently.
Okay.
That was
so you were accepting like religious pluralism, and not holding to just the truth claims of like Christianity, but you were allowing multiple other religious views in as well.
And then also, currently, when he's reading the Bible, he's asked himself, is this a legend? Is this a myth in his head? Yeah.
Okay, man. Yeah. So this kind of gets into the reliability of the Bible. And you can go through that with like Testify's series. He has done a great work on Acts and Luke, and now going through John, of the reliability and the firsthand account and eyewitness nature of the Gospels of Luke and John. So that goes through like, okay, they know all of these details that you could only know about if you were present at the time. So like John calls the Sea of Galilee the Sea of Tiberias. It was only called that for a little bit of time. So either he was local and at that time, or he made a very well educated guess. But like you don't have the same type of history books you have now that document all of these details, and we have hundreds of those type of details. So all of their places, the settings, the culture, the names, even like the frequency of the names in the Bible matches with tombs that we've excavated from that time period. So you have a lot of archaeological evidence for the New Testament and for the Old Testament. Like Pontius Pilate, for example, we found his tomb. So these, and the fact that he was the precursor, or yeah, I think that's the term. Like those specific details, you had to know it because you don't have Wikipedia. You can't just like read a book or a scroll or something and get this information. You had to know it, or I had to make a very educated guess. And all the like good guesses that people make in the Gnostics are all garbage and horrible and all false. They don't have the eyewitness information, so therefore they make up a lot of details that are just blatantly false. So you have a lot of eyewitness stuff in the New Testament. You have a lot of archaeological discoveries in the Old Testament that makes a pretty good case for the reliability of the historical accounts in the Bible. So like we found Jericho, we found that the walls fell miraculously outward to create a ramp for the Israelites to go in. And then there's a burn layer where they destroy everything, including the food, which when a conquering society, they're going into a new place, you don't destroy the food because everyone needs food. It would be idiotic to destroy food, but God commanded them to destroy food. So they destroyed full on clay jars, like very big, large, like multiple, like 40, 50 gallon jars of barley and wheat, unheard of in conquest. But yet they did, and they destroyed dozens of them that we have in the burn layer. So, and obviously the walls fell outward, and I can like pull up a diagram for people, but it's really, really neat archaeology for that sighting. Then you also have tombs of various kings of Israel. There's a debated one for David. We have Hezekiah's tunnels. You have the Temple of Solomon, the wall, the Wailing Wall still exists. You have a lot of the archaeology from David onward, just story after story after story. And even for the Torah side of things, we have some of the conquests, we have some of these cities. People have discovered things because the Bible describes something. They're like, I'm going to go look where it says that it is. And they find the place that they're talking about, even though it's buried by so much dirt. They just start digging in and they're like, oh, yeah, there's a city here. That's weird. So that's happened numerous times. There was an old adage of like every time an archaeologist puts a shovel into the ground, the Bible's confirmed even further. So you have a lot of evidence for the reliability of the Old Testament and the New Testament on historical grounds. And then it has morality that is revolutionary. So whenever you study the Torah and you see, okay, their treatment of women, like all men being made in the image of God is a revolutionary idea, because now slaves have dignity. And slaves weren't even human in every other society, but now slaves have dignity. The unborn had rights and protections, and if you killed an unborn, you were to be put to death. So they had, protections against abortion, protections against abusing women, especially pregnant women. They had protections against, abusing children. They took away the right of the parent to kill their kid and put it on the government, and the government never actually issued that right. So instead of parents, because parents would just kill disobedient children all throughout history. The Bible said, no, we're going to have to do that anymore. Now you take that disobedient kid to the judges, and then the judges get to pick whether or not that kid lives or dies. So you have revolutionary morality and teaching and ideas of God and monotheism that was unusual for the time. And then you have the New Testament of Jesus, which is even more revolutionary. And pretty much everyone has claimed Jesus because of how revolutionary and amazing he is. So Buddhists make him out to be a Buddha, Hindus make him out to be a diva. You have Muslims claim him as a prophet. You have Jews. Some of them are like, yeah, he's a good moral teacher. Then other guys like spit on the idea of him. So, mixed bag with them. But pretty much every system in existence claims Jesus because of who he was and how special he was. That's pretty weird. Why is this no-named backwater, like redneck carpenter the most important person in history? And why was he killed for claiming to be God? And then that become the world religion? It's hard to describe. It's hard to explain. And especially we have evidence for the resurrection. You can go through that as well. There's the minimal facts case and the maximal facts case for the resurrection. The minimal facts you'll find a lot more YouTube videos on. There's not many that have made videos on the maximal case. I eventually will. That's going to be like next year. So we'll get through that. But we have evidence for the resurrection coming from like the eyewitnesses to the resurrection. Several of them were brutally tortured and killed for their attestation to what they saw and believed. So you don't have like liars make very bad martyrs. It's different than like Muslims or like Hindus or Buddhists, like the Buddhists who set themselves on fire. Like it's different from them because they don't actually know whether or not the religion that they're holding to is true. The gospel and the apostles who were proclaiming it, who died for it, they knew if it was true. They were the witnesses. So they know if they're lying or not. So they're not dying for a belief that they've been indoctrinated into since children or childhood. They are dying for something that they themselves are claiming to have seen firsthand. So you have that. You have the conversion of his enemies and his brothers, like Paul converted. You have his two brothers, like two of his brothers converting, becoming leaders of the church. Then you have the women being the witnesses of the resurrection, which would have been embarrassing. And you have all the disciples running away, which is also would have been embarrassing. So none of them are like valiantly fighting against the system or like claiming to be like, no, they like run away scared and cry. And then Peter runs away so bad, he goes back to his old life and is fishing. And yet he is one of the leaders of the church going forward. So you have very, very weird accounts of history, a very weird account of morality, very weird account of resurrection, because that was not a Greek belief or a Jewish belief. The Jews wouldn't believe that God would become man and then die on a cross. The Greeks did believe that God would become a man, but they wouldn't have accepted God dying on a cross. So for both the Jews and Gentiles, they were offended by the gospel because it went against their sensibilities. Yet it has revolutionized the entire world, and it makes truth claims that nothing else can be compatible to. So when you get to like the pluralism side, Jesus said, "I am the way, the truth, and life. No one can get to the Father except through me." Then he proves it by the resurrection. So if the New Testament is reliable, the resurrection is reliable, and Jesus claimed to be God and resurrected to prove it, it seems to be that Jesus is God, that he made truth claims that are incompatible with everything else, and pretty much every other system is incompatible with the other systems in general. So like Hinduism is not compatible with Buddhism. They claim it is. Some people claim to be both Hindus and Buddhist, but ultimately speaking, one of them is heavily either monotheistic or polytheistic, depending on what type of Hindu you are. And then Buddhism is atheistic. So you can't have both systems be true. And then you have Islam is not compatible with anything. Kind of need to get rid of it. And then you have all these other systems, like even paganism, or pantheism, it's still not compatible with the other systems. So it's not really possible to have true pluralism because every single system is unique in what it teaches and the truth claims that they make. So unless you're going to say that all truth is true, well, that's a false statement in and of itself. Because then you can ask, is that true? And they're like, oh yeah, of course it's true. Then I was like, okay, well, am I an ice cream cone? Like, no, of course not. I was like, well, then not all truth is truth. Like you're making up statements and there's contradictions. Like, oh, well, contradictions don't matter, which is what the Easterners typically believe. But then you're just appealing to nonsense. Like if truth doesn't matter, if truth doesn't mean anything, then why believe anything? Why not believe that I'm a spaghetti monster? Yeah. I talked for a really long time. Hopefully that was useful.
Yeah. One about the name is perennialism. So I'm all right with that's the name. The idea that all or pluralism you call the idea that God exists,
Yeah.
a spiritual realm, and you can go through stages, and various religions all go to the same through various ways. I'm all right. That's perennialism. What's the name?
I think pluralism. That sounds like pluralism.
Pluralism is
But
yeah.
and this is you did it various stage of mystic states. You go up through various, and you enlightenment. That's the name of.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. I mean, the idea
I
that
think
all roads lead to truth.
yes,
Is that
yes, that and what maybe that's for another moment. What do you do about
yep.
the spiritual? Uh, it will go too much specific, but what do we do if we as Christians? I
Yeah.
hope am reaching. Uh, maybe I can call me like that with the religious experience, spiritual experience, mystic state. Okay, whatever. That through some practices you find in various other religions, Buddhism. I don't know. I just throwing the idea. I don't know. Sufis, mystic states. I don't know. But there are various religious uh, paths supposedly, and you go
Yeah.
up, and you have mystic states, visions, visions of spiritual realms,
Right.
whatever. What as Christians, what do we do with that experience?
Yes.
That
So what
are
do we
in
do with
various the experience
the
in
supernatural
books
experiences
and
of others?
yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
So very good question.
mm,
Go ahead.
no, go please.
Okay, yeah.
You
So a lot like people have dreams from Allah that come true. And that's weird. What do you do with that? And they're not even like a lot of them are like Muslim dreams. So like how do you account as a Christian that people are seemingly getting true dreams? Like Nabil has a great section on this in his book. But
I was just
his mom his mom had a dream about having four seeds, if I remember correctly, and two of them sprouted and then two of them withered. And then one of the Muslimas that she was talking to interpreted her dream as saying, "You will have four children, two of them will be miscarriages and two of them will grow up and be healthy." That's exactly what happened. So, is that dream prophetic? And is it prophecy from God or is it prophecy from not God? And that's like a crazy thing. But people do have spiritual experiences all over the planet in many different systems. Um, some of it is demonic for sure. So like Wiccan, for example, heavily demonic. Um, and there's like stories of witch doctors and warlocks and witches that are like hexing and cursing people for a living. And there's two stories I can think of. One of them was a guy was trying to buy a curse on a Christian that wronged him, and he was like, "Oh no, I'm not gonna waste my time. Curses don't work on Christians. They work on everyone else, but they don't work on Christians," which is interesting in and of itself. But you do have the spiritual world exists. We all agree the spiritual world exists, and most of us agree that the demons and principalities and powers, both on God's side of thing and on the enemy's side of thing, they have actual ability to affect this world in a variety of different ways, especially if they're operating through a human. That's more of my belief for that rather than a biblical teaching. But my current belief, and this could be entirely wrong, but my current belief is humans are made in the image of God. We have an authority that's higher than other creatures, including like angels. So whenever we are allowing demons to work through us, we are giving that demon our authority to work and do things, which is how like some people are able to do miraculous things with demons and some people are not able to do miraculous things with demons. It's not because of the demons' power, but it's the humans. Again, that's my own wacky my tin hat's over there, but my wacky tinfoil hat theory for that. As far as like predicting the future, that is very strange to me. Maybe someone else has a better answer for that. But the fact that it happens at all is weird, especially because that's supposed to be God's prerogative. So is it God providing that for like seeds to be planted to like show who he is? I don't know. So anyone else have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. So I wanted to tell you que tengo un testimonio en mi canal sobre mi journey y todo lo que ha pasado en mi vida y suena un poco como lo que está pasando contigo. And also that like a lot of times doubts aren't necessarily something del mente, even though it seems like it is, but write it out. Write out your doubts in a journal and keep them organized, and just even writing them out, and then you can think about it more clearly. With like supernatural stuff and weird stuff, there can be a lot of weird things that are true in the world, but Christianity is still true, right? So long as Jesus Christ is God and he died and rose again, you could have potentially Jungian synchronicity or some kind of really weird, like ESP, or, people who aren't Christians who are having weird dreams that end up coming true and weird coincidences, because it might just be that our consciousnesses operate in data, and at the foundation of the universe, data is what everything's really made of instead of material. And so weird coincidences will pop up or whatever it is. You can run all sorts of systems within Christianity so long as Jesus is God and he died and rose again. And these other things are just weird, but it's not like it determines what the purpose of our life is or takes glory away from God, or, if anything, it add glory to God, because you go, wow, that's weird. Like fish keeps popping up, whatever it is, So the system can be quirky and still work within Christianity.
So I have a question. If Satan appeared to Job and told him everything that he was about to do in Job chapter 2, and it happened, would that make Satan a prophet?
No.
Well, no. No, it wouldn't make Satan a prophet. It just means that Satan was given this authority to do these things to Job's family and to his skin, and he did it. He executed his authority. He knew what he was going to do beforehand, and it wouldn't have been far past Satan to have said, hey, go tell Job that this is going to happen, and I'll make you look like a prophet. So I have absolutely no doubt that there are certain things that happen within the world that Satan has actively had a hand in, and people who are under the influence of demonic forces can absolutely predict those things because they know what their master is doing.
Thanks, guys. I will take some stuff you have told me, advice also. Maybe in another time, I will tell you how my trip is going about this. And thanks again. Keep the good work, and see you next time. Hasta la
Nos
vista.
vemos.
Cuídense.
Y como
Chao.
decimos en Chile, chao.
Hasta
Chao.
luego.
Buenos
Chao, chao.
noches.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches. Chao.
One of my favorite slang words that I remember from when I lived as a kid in Chile was a word for a fat person was a huatón. Like they had a word for a fatty. That's not Spanish in general. It's just a Chilean thing. And then another one was they would call babies guaguas. But you go to like other areas and a guagua is like a auto. It's like a bus.
Yeah.
Huh.
I don't know why. It makes more sense as a baby because babies go wah wah. It's a guagua.
Well, there is an ancient psalm. I forget the way that it goes, but it begins with the wheels on the bus that go round, and then the babies on the bus also.
Go round, yes.
Yeah. Well, they don't
They
go
go
round.
loud.
Hopefully not.
Yeah.
They go.
No, they go wham, wham, wham.
Right. Yeah. Of course. But
Chris, do you really have children?
Yeah.
Chris
No,
exposed.
he's just like, dude, when I put him in the dryer, the baby go round. Now, what do you want from me?
I actually have like a, let me hide their names and birthdays, but I actually have like a best dad ever Pokemon card that they made.
That's
That's super.
cute.
Is that
It
you in
has
8-bit?
me and my kids. Yeah, it's me and 8-bit with my children.
That's dope. Where did
and
your kids
8-bit.
make
And
those?
then, yeah. Pokepet.
I want to make one.
It was pretty cool. And it's like, it's metal. It's not actually like plastic or the cardboard. It's like a metal, I guess, like, pretty cool. Pretty based.
Senor Gadfly,
See,
have you ever had a chacarero or chacarera sandwich?
no, I don't know what that is. Is that from Chile?
Yeah, it's a Chilean sandwich. It's like a toast. It's the tostero.
Tostada?
It's the bread roll, and it's steak, and then
Yeah.
you put like green beans on it.
I was a little kid back then, and so all I remember is like the cotton candy and stuff. If it had green beans on it, I was running.
Was that alfajores, the little cookies?
I don't remember those either. I do remember this though. So before we moved to Chile, I would say sloop instead of soup as just a speech impediment. Like I would just mess up the way I said soup. And then we moved to Chile and I said slopa en lugar de sopa. I'd say slopa instead of sopa.
Ha!
The L jumped languages.
That's awesome.
Slopa. Me gustaría comer un slopa.
Pretty sure that was on the bus.
I grew up in a Spanish speaking environment with Mexicans and Puerto Ricans. So I only absorbed just a little bit. I never actually, well, in middle school, they forced everyone to learn it. So because like a full quarter of our population only spoke Spanish. So yeah, you'll do like 3 years in middle school and like 4 years in high school.
Learn English.
And the only phrase that I actually fully remember is this, for whatever reason, we said this like once a week in my Spanish class, was yo tengo dos gatos en mi pantalones.
Oh, we always said that in high school too. Yeah.
Oh, did you?
Well,
I've said that to
tengo
several
el tigre
Spanish
en mis
speakers, and
pantalones or something stupid.
all of them were like, what in the world are you talking about? I was like, I have 2 cats in my pants. And that's what I was taught. I have no idea why that was the phrase, but yeah, I have 2 cats in my pants.
That
was the phrase that we learned.
It's secret phraseology, so that way they know if you're a gringo. If they hear that phrase come out of your lips, they're like, "Yep, we know where you're from." Dude.
Gringo identificado.
Yeah,
I
literally.
wanted to marry a couple of Mexican girls growing up. Mexican girls are beautiful.
My people. Look how they've done my people.
My favorite people in the world are people from Spain. I mean, they're just so lively. Just how they speak. I mean, they speak with such passion.
They speak a different language.
They do. They speak their Spanish a little differently, and they say things like, "Oh, Robert, you have to try this. You have to try the paella, Robert. It's so good." And I worked at a college, and I got to meet a bunch of Spanish international students, and I just fell in love with every single one of them. They were so awesome to hang out with and just get to know. I mean, just such a loving people.
IJP is a girl?
No.
Okay, I was like, what?
No, I was talking about marrying Mexican girls, and he's like, yeah, I was one of those girls I was going to marry.
Right.
Yeah.
Real quick.
It's like oh, sorry, go ahead.
My phone's about to die. But I do have one question I'd love to ask you guys with YouTube channels. What inspired you to want to start doing a YouTube channel?
If you don't say the Lord, you're in trouble. No, I'm just kidding.
There you go.
So I used to do Bible studies daily offline on Discord with just me and Gara, my editor. And then eventually Lily joined, and we started doing them weekly instead of daily. But for like 2 years, we were doing daily Bible studies for like 5 to 8 hours at a time. Just going through all of the Bible, all of Christendom, all of the debates, all of the arguments, just all of it. And then he added her at a year and a half into those 2 years because he was gatekeeping me. But we went over it, and then me, Gato, and Lily were doing it for a long time. And then we were accumulating people into these Bible studies. And then Gato, his phone died. He can watch the replay. Gato was eventually like, yeah, Chris, this can't stay in the Discord. We have to do something with this. So I started a blog, and I was gonna have that be my outlet. And I was like, this is way too much effort. Making videos might be easier than this. So then I started a YouTube channel. And now we're here. 2 years later, almost.
Oh, jeez.
You said you're sorry?
No, I said I'm so glad to be one of the OGs.
Man, what languages you speaking, dog?
You guys can't hear me.
No, we can hear you.
I was just,
Oh.
I just
He's making fun of
the word of that.
The original ones.
My black friend made me start a YouTube channel, so nah, he didn't actually make me. We wanted to start, that's my other black friend. We wanted to start a channel together, and then he was like, nah. And I was like, okay. So I was like, but I'm gonna start the channel, and he's like, you go ahead. So I started with Andrew. But we both liked apologetics, and I was like, why hold it in? Yeah, okay. Original gangster. Okay. I know what it means. What I'm saying is I didn't understand her because
young G-Man.
She have thick accent.
Wait, do I? Oh no! It's not that bad.
No, it's not that bad. I was
really
just
not.
like, no, it wasn't that bad. Just for a second, I was like, what? Well, yeah. And unfortunately, I think Andrew's less black than I am because, so according to the ancient scrolls, black don't crack, and Andrew's hairline is under fire at the moment. And I know that would not happen. But like, my hairline just fine. My hairline been fine. So I think I have a little bit more of a claim.
Oh, so funny.
Me,
how'd you start?
Yeah, it was. I read. Well, okay. So what I read, Seeking All Finding Jesus. I had gosh, this is all in my testimony. So I became an atheist for about a year when I was around 25. I was like, someday soon I'm going to have kids. God, test my faith so that I'll be able to answer whatever questions they have. And then within 6 months, I was an atheist. And then I stayed an atheist for about a year before returning to the faith. And I got into apologetics in that entire season of my life. And one of the books I found within that season was Seeking Allah, Finding Jesus. And I read that book, and I fell in love with Nabil Qureshi's parents. Like, I ached for them to be saved as I was reading that book. And so that's what first made me get interested in Muslims. And then I started a podcast. I didn't even know anything about YouTube, really. I had a podcast, and I would post my podcast episodes onto YouTube. So there wasn't a face or anything. It was just the audio. And it started as those. And then eventually I went into making videos, and I've always loved sketch comedies. And so I just kind of naturally integrated that. While we were talking to our friend from Chile, GOA, I went back and republished some of my old podcast uploads that I had set to private because I just didn't want these boring dead videos on my channel that don't have any video. But the topics of the ones that I published have to do with stuff he was talking about. So if GOA, if you're still out there listening, some of my old podcast episodes that are like the first things I posted on my channel from way back when, I've republished those. There's nothing to watch. It's just audio, but it talks about stuff like the just Christianity being true and everything else being false. How does that play out? How does that work? And just other stuff. There was other ones that I published that had to do with things you're talking about. Uh-oh, there's a gangster here.
No, this is a cold pack. I drink caffeine for the first time in a month and a half, and I got a migraine. So
I lay down a
just
beat.
gotta nurse that for a second.
Lay down a beat.
I'm gonna wake up my kids.
No. See, we're beatboxing. You're supposed to be laying down the lyrics. You're the one who look it. Dude, start saying stuff about Alzu. Come on. Boom, 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 boom. It's okay.
Chris, I don't want you to freestyle because you already don't have a filter. I don't know
dude, pull up this dude Jamie last chat. who dis? Lots of low-level ground-based individuals with their heads in the sand, slithering snakes. It's a worm. It's stinging scorpions and dirty rats hiding in holes. Love the sand too. Question mark chicken also loves the sand. What?
I hate sand. It gets everywhere.
It's coarse.
It's coarse and rough.
Dude, what is this dude?
There's crazy people on the internet, man.
So
there are crazy people.
Tiger, I did only do the stream to answer his questions, and he's been asking questions for a while.
He has been.
So
pull him up.
I will start answering his questions. Tiger, if you do want to hop on the stream, you're more than welcome to. But if you don't want to, that's fine.
This would be way easier.
It would be easier, but it is.
Come on with an AI voice. Actually, it could be Cora. This might be Cora with an alt account.
Nah, she wouldn't be based enough to put a Legend of Zelda profile.
That's true. Have you ever noticed how Dawa people never have a personality?
Their personality is that they're just insufferable.
What is something that you like besides dunking on Christianity? Anything at all. Just name anything at all. Is there something that there's never like a video game or obviously there's not going to be a song that they like or a movie. It's just, they're all just like robots.
Well, Warner likes smoking pot.
Anyway, yeah. So no, but that's legitimately a Legend of Zelda logo. You're on to something.
It couldn't be. Yeah, couldn't be.
Yeah, but why is that?
I don't know. Yeah, because it's like you listen to Logic, Eli, even David, he talks about like wrestling and like old people stuff and like, but then you get to like the Dawa guys and it's just like, man, I hate Sheikh Ufma. What he doing? I'm like, man, who even like Warner? Who like Liviano? Like nobody like them. Like get down. Like, and who are you, Christian? You ain't even on to come up. Get up. It's like, dude.
Yeah. So because music is haram, they couldn't play video games.
Hey, let's go back to Tiger's question.
Yeah, could you imagine? Oh my goodness. Sorry, I'm just saying.
All right.
Video game soundtracks are so good.
Good.
The Legend of Zelda soundtracks are so fantastic.
They're so good.
How do you not like? My ears are blessed every time I open the game.
Yeah, or Skyrim.
Oh my goodness,
that soundtrack.
Yes, dude. Oblivion's got a great soundtrack.
Yep.
A new one that's got a great soundtrack. I really like Ghost of Tsushima.
You ever play any Final Fantasies?
So, unfortunately, well, okay, I take that back. I did. I played the one where you're like it's a third person one, and essentially it's like a road trip with the boys.
Oh, Final Fantasy 15.
15, thank you. Yeah, it's like a road trip.
I haven't played
with
that
the
one,
boys.
so I don't know if it's good music.
It's sorry, go ahead.
The older ones had a composer named Nobuo Uematsu. All of his music is so good. When I was a kid, I used to just like go into the menu and I just enjoyed sitting there listening to it. And I didn't I wasn't even self-aware enough to know I like music and I like this song. But I would just sit there as a kid and just have the menu going, and I didn't even know why. I just enjoyed,
The music was good. The gameplay was fantastic in that game. Like the controls and everything, super great. I'd never played anything like that before. And I was like a freshman in high school when I played it, I think. I might have to go back. When it comes to 8-bit games and stuff, the only games that really kept my attention back in the day was like Donkey Kong Country and like Pokemon.
That was good music.
Oh no, DK Country had some banging music, but like Star Fox 64. Then the Game Boy Advance, we had Pokemon Crystal on it. Fantastic. All the Pokemon games have great music too, but I could never bring myself to play any of the older Final Fantasy games just because I was never intrigued by like just the style.
You're not nerdy enough.
I know I may not be. I don't like because I feel like if I'm gonna start playing the Final Fantasy games, I gotta start with 1. But it's like it's so old.
I started with
like,
8.
I feel like I won't enjoy it. So okay, yeah, and I don't know. Like I'm not well versed in the
Did you play the Pokemon trading card game ever on Game Boy?
One on mobile? Oh no, not on Game Boy. No.
Oh man, the battle song on that was a banger.
I know they have the Pokemon TCG on your phone now, and my family got into that for a second, but then
Chris, for the 14th time, could you pull up Tiger's actual legitimate question?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I was. Yes. Okay.
It's so just how
reconcile
go ahead, read
Genesis. I hear many different interpretations. I struggle with understanding both old creationist and young creationist ideologies. So you have a mixture on the panel. You want to give yours first?
I was just about to say we have a mixture on the panel. I know me and you are a mixture. I don't know what Chase believes.
He's young.
I'm younger.
He's more. So I'm in the middle between you guys.
Yeah.
I believe he's more staunchly young. You're more staunchly old, and I have a mixed opinion. So, but I would lean towards young. And this is one of those topics you don't really need to have an answer on.
Are you a theistic evolution? Gadfly? You are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which you kind of have to be for old.
Yeah, well, for old, I don't know if you have to be for old.
I guess you could
because
still be special
it doesn't
creation, just have a really old planet.
Because if you're talking day age theory, then any unspecific amount of time could have passed between any of the days. So like,
right,
humanity could have been made, and then boom, 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 everything started happening. But like realistically, the universe is still way older because of what took place before that. I don't subscribe to day age theory though, so.
Right.
So sorry, go ahead.
What?
Well, I just don't know, like, what do you mean reconcile and explain? Are you talking about 1 through 3? Is that kind of his, like, understanding how to reconcile Genesis, the creation? Well, I guess it's 1 and 2, but
his follow-up questions was like, which one is correct? What evidence coincides with each? And what is in the beginning? What does that even mean? How can a being
so it is
exist outside of time and space and matter? So for I can go through the evidence real quick, but for that last question, before we go through the evidence,
I know that's the most interesting one. I'm gonna find a quote from Philo. I'll be back.
Okay. So that is kind of necessary for a being to exist outside of. Let me get my drawing tablet so I can draw you a map. We'll get ultra nerdy on the stream. Let me plug in.
Chris would not say that God exists outside of time, but he does exist outside of space and matter, I'm assuming.
I absolutely do say that before creation.
Well, yeah, before creation.
Yeah, which is
necessary. Yeah, no, I know. Never mind. Right. I'm sorry. I knew what you meant.
Yeah. So let me bring my screen up.
But it is necessary.
Yes, got it. Untitled. Here's my last Genesis thing I did. So you'll have that.
I'm just gonna.
Oh, Lily's still here.
I'm just gonna get going. I just don't have anything to add to the conversation.
No, you're good. Are you young Earth or old Earth?
I don't know.
She just like, I'm Earthquake, like the song. Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, I don't have much to add to the conversation. But I really wanted to hang out with you guys, so it's fine. It's okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk, but I didn't want
welcome
to. One, everyone
You
was
can-
just talking, so it's fine. It's okay.
No, that's good. That's good.
Earthquake.
Anyways, have a splendid night, guys.
Yes, you as well. I did.
Good night, sister.
Good night.
She's silent
ya.
but deadly. Oh, see you, Lily.
That's crazy. Dude, what is Jamie even saying? Like, I don't even care that bro is here, but he just keeps spamming.
Yeah, I don't know what he's on about. I guess Chase is black. I don't know.
Crazy people
So-
use a lot of emojis. Have you ever noticed?
Yeah, them and Muslims.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
like on
Muslims-
Twitter. He probably is a Muslim. On Twitter, also, it's just like
Well, he
tons
says-
of. Like,
Well, he
He
He's
says,
been
"Holy,
saying
holy,
Christian
holy is
stuff
the
all
Lord
the
of
time.
hosts."
Yeah.
Which usually is.
Oh,
Is
wait.
there? Is
Oh,
there?
maybe not. It might just be crazy.
So like, the thrice holy God theme exists throughout Scripture. Does that exist in the Quran at all? Like, is there such thing as
I don't think so.
like the thrice
Say not three.
holiness?
I
Well, I know he
you
says
do
say not
have
three, but
the-
like I'm not. I don't think that holy, holy, holy necessarily denotes the Trinity. I just think that it's a way of ascribing such otherness to God. But
So this is I'm gonna need a whiteboard for several of the answers. For God existing outside of space and time, this can get into the infinite regress real quick and the necessity of the unmoved mover. So if we have like today, for example, being right here, and we have yesterday being right here, so -1, and then the day before yesterday being right here, how is this possible? Now, it seems like a silly question. How is it possible that today is currently happening? If the universe is eternal, if time is eternal, if matter is eternal, how did today happen? Because in order for today to happen, you need to have yesterday happen. In order for yesterday to happen, you need the day before yesterday to happen. In order for this day to happen, you have to have, -3. In order for, the day before that day to happen, you need the day before that day to happen. And then onward and onward into infinity. So this goes out negatively infinitely. So there is no true origin point. You have just this never-ending back propagation of days that need to happen before today happens. Because infinities are infinite, even if they're countable infinities, you're still going to be going endlessly into the past for some time that never actually stopped. So in order for reality to...
Let me say something real quick. Tiger Blade, if you're not understanding this, say something, because this argument is actually really good. And it just know that like time in the past, it was created counting one at a time. Can you sit there and count long enough to hit infinity? No.
Exactly.
Right. So that's basically what Chris is saying. Go
order-
ahead, Chris. I just want to make sure
In
he's
order
getting, because you're running the
to-
ontological argument.
right.
In order for today to happen, you need some point in time that was day 0. Otherwise, you're going to get back into the infinities. So you have to, in order to break the infinite regress of cause and effect, you need something that was the original cause, something that started cause and effect. So that's what, it depends on what version of time you're believing in. If you believe time is the sequential sequence of cause and effect, one state of reality to the next state of reality, which is mode B of time for like the philosophy side of things, which is what I believe in. I believe in B mode of time. In order for any time to exist in the present, you need a stopping point in the past. You need something that caused every single event that then would lead to today. And whatever this thing is the cause of everything. So all that we currently see today, all that you've currently lived out, everything that came before you was caused by whatever this original thing was. So you can like philosophically describe what this entity is like, right?
Let me tell
So if
Tiger
I then
Blade
start,
something real quick, Chris. So this is two separate arguments that are both cosmological arguments. One, sorry, it wasn't the ontological argument, it's cosmological argument. So the first one he ran is the Kalam. It's a time-based cosmological argument where it's like
infinite regress, but
yeah, time needs to have had a beginning. And then this next one is more Leibnizian, where it's causes leading up until today. So these are independent arguments, but they come to the same conclusion. And so whenever you have multiple arguments all pointing to the same conclusion, it makes all those arguments stronger. So the arguments are they're independently bringing you to the same thing.
Yeah.
All right, keep going, Chris.
Am I a mod on your channel? I don't want to time out the Jamaica.
Boot that
I'm not a
Jamie,
mod on your
dude.
channel. Feels bad. Feels bad. Okay. So we have what? How do we describe the characteristics of this entity? Whatever this original cause is, can we deduce logically some attributes of this entity? So you can, the answer is actually yes. You can figure out that he's timeless because he has to be outside of time. He has to be the origin point of time. He has to be the origin point of cause and effect. So he has to be timeless. He has to be matterless or immaterial, because, and he also has to be like energyless or like not made out of matter and energy, and also spaceless because he isn't he's not inhabiting a section of the universe. If the universe doesn't exist yet, because that is the effect of this first instance, then whatever was existing before the first instance had to be something that is outside of the reality that we're currently observing. So this has to be timeless, has to be matterless, energyless, spaceless. So the three-dimensional existence that we observe, whatever entity started it, it can't be made out of that thing because it has to be the origin for that thing. So it doesn't make any sense to have a god or the first cause or the first entity. So like the Big Bang, for example, can't be self-reliant. It can't be its own cause because it is made out of these things. Where do they come from? If you have eternal versions of that gets into possibly entropy, but how do those things even exist in an eternal or non-temporal sense? So you get kind of this abstract, immaterial, eternal cause of the universe. It has to be powerful because it created the whole universe. So it has to be strong enough to make the universe. It has to be a mind or a will because it had to choose to start. Because if it was pure potential, how did it become actuality? So like if I have the ability to create the universe, but the universe isn't made yet, I then have to choose to go from not creating the universe to creating the universe. That's the first cause, is the creation of the universe. So whatever that first cause was, it had to have a will, it had to have a mind, it had to have agency. It made a choice to create the universe. So it is an immaterial, eternal mind that is powerful. And then we could also describe him as orderly because we observe order within the universe, but he could theoretically exist without order, which also applies logic as well. Logic can only exist because of this being. So you can have these attributes. All of these attributes are not required for this God to exist. And then you can make an argument for the goodness of this creature as well, based on the observed reality that we have. And that gets through the argument of beauty, which David Suarez just wrote a book on, which is really based. And I can put that in chat real quick. But yeah, very, very cool. Very, very cool argument. This dude, which you can't currently see, but yeah. So that's the arguments for the existence of the unmoved mover and the qualities of the unmoved mover. So it's like, okay, whatever this thing is, whatever all this is, this sounds like God, right? Like this immaterial, eternal, spaceless, energyless being that's powerful, has a will, and chose to create. That just sounds like God. That sounds like the God of the Bible. So philosophically, that is the God of the Bible. Like the God of the Bible agrees with what we can deduce using logic, which is pretty neat. No other system has this, by the way. Almost all religions don't have an eternal God, an uncreated deity. Ours does, which is really neat. It just so happens to be that our system agrees with logic and philosophy. But
I want to advertise this book for Tiger Blade by Andrew Loke. So this book, the teleological and Kalam cosmological arguments revisited. So it talks about these cosmological arguments that Chris just ran, and then to help make the first cause God, he runs a teleological argument, which is the one from fine tuning. And so he talks about how there's all the different natural laws of the universe, and they're all balanced with each other and intelligently aligned with each other in such a way that it looks like design. So you have something super, super smart, super, super powerful, and it's at the beginning of everything. And if it's troubling for you to go, well, how could something exist out of time and space? Imagine like a video game. We were talking about Pokemon earlier. Some programmer created Pokemon. Okay. Imagine two Pokemon within the program going, well, how could someone exist without HP? How could somebody exist without pixels? That's what it's like when you and I are sitting here going, how could something exist outside of time and space? It's just because we're in this program. And so this is all we know of existence, but there's no logical necessity that things could only exist in time and space. That's just the only, like a fish in water, it's the only reality we've ever known.
Right.
I like to think of creation like an author writing a book, because there was truly nothing except conceptual understanding. And then once it's on the page, it's, so whenever God says in the beginning, that's what it means. That's just what it means. I don't know what else you want me. It just means in the beginning. Like,
and then imagine
baseball.
There's scientists in the book who discover that the book is directed by these letters. See, we don't need an author. There's DNA? Letters.
Sorry.
There's letters that determine everything that's happening. It's like, well, okay, that actually doesn't solve the problem, because all of the order of the letters and the logic of them is pointing to something else.
Alvin Plantinga is by far one of the best philosophers of modern times, but he does have a good book that Randy Bales recommended. Another viewer also brought up the idea of the argument from entropy, saying that the universe, entropy can only either stay the same or go up, which means essentially that the universe can either maintain all of its energy or lose it. And if infinite, like if there was an infinite amount of time, whatever that means beforehand, then the universe would have run out of usable energy by this point.
Unless it's not a closed system, but we have no reason to believe the universe is not a closed system.
Right. There's no reason not to believe that. Unless you're a theist. Then you can believe that it's not a closed system.
It's true.
And maintain consistency. Because there are people who do say that when the soul interacts with the brain and the body, it actually introduces energy, which is interesting theory. I don't know if you've ever explored that, but
I got a membership party. Thank for everyone donating memberships. You do actually have the CIA talking about that and talking about using it to assassinate people, which is really neat. So that's in some of their unclassified reports for Project Gateway of trying to harness the energy of the spiritual realm and trying to also do it for reconnaissance and assassinations.
So that's Looking Glass is crazy. Project Looking Glass was one of the most insane Like they were just doing whatever at that point. Essentially, if you're not familiar with Looking Glass, they just got a bunch of psychics together and they're like, all right, we need to know where the Ark of the Covenant's at. And they're like, what? And they're like, yeah, we need to know where the Ark of the Covenant's at. I need you to pinpoint the Ark of the Covenant. And so they were like, all right. So then they like drew out what they saw. And you can see it looks like it's in Egypt. Like there's like they drew an arch with like some kind of religious symbolism and like a hallway and stuff like that. And they're like, we think it's in Egypt somewhere, or it's like been moved to some Muslim country. But that Looking Glass kind of crazy. I can't front. It's not true. I don't think the Ark of the Covenant here no more. But
it was demons' powers specifically, but yeah.
He also said earlier.
I have all of them started.
Why does God have to... Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, you're good.
I did want to go back to that because we didn't actually answer the first part of the question. So you brought up the entropy argument. That's the best argument we have against the universe being eternal, is that it can't. Entropy would dissolve everything into a soup. So not only is it impossible due to cause and effect needing to have an origin, but it's also impossible because of entropy, where the very low entropy states where everything is just uniform, that is guaranteed to happen after a point in time, unless the universe isn't a closed system. But again, we have no reason to think it isn't a closed system. So the laws of thermodynamics exclude the universe from being eternal, which actually, whenever we discovered those laws, atheist scientists were extremely upset about it because they realized the implications that the universe had a beginning. Same with the Big Bang Theory, because the Big Bang was created by a Christian priest. And atheists were very upset because they had an eternal universe model. Oh, the universe doesn't need a beginning because the universe is forever. They realized pretty quickly that, hey, the universe can't be forever. It has an origin. And they're like, let's just not. So it was like pulling their teeth out to get them to admit that the universe had a beginning. And now most of them say it had a beginning, which is pretty good. It's getting you like that much closer to actually becoming a Christian. Because Christianity is the only religion that actually kind of makes sense. Yeah, well, obviously Christianity makes sense, but all the other religions just fall apart very quickly under scrutiny.
A note also that argument is independent from your cosmological arguments. And those cosmological arguments are independent from each other. So you have all these independent reasons for thinking that there's a beginning. And then you can go into like arguments for the Big Bang that don't necessitate a beginning. But if you pair them with all these arguments that make it look like there's a beginning and that seems to be the beginning, well, then now you can add like redshift or whatever else to all of these other there's all these mysteries and problems that get solved if you just go, you know what, there's a beginning. It's like, okay, well, that makes sense of how there could be time in the past and how there's causes leading up to now and how, you know, redshift is happening, how everything isn't just a soup of entropy with no high energy anywhere, like a cold soup.
Yeah.
Some soups are better.
So cold. You have all that. Plus other arguments. You do have the arguments for God being good. Because of like beauty and or ability to recognize good or ability to recognize morality. And morality itself needs to be grounded in something. Shakil, are you a Muslim by chance? Currently answering other questions, but I'd be happy to bring it up after we're done answering the questions.
Madam 50 made me bust out laughing because I was like going through my comments and it was all that schizo dude. And then Madam 50 is like, this is the least schizo gadfly.
Gadfly fan. I saw that earlier. I was dead.
So you do have that. But as far as the beginning for Genesis, Bereshit literally just means in beginning. So I would just say that is describing the event that Jesus is going through. Or, yes, Jesus, but God is doing. So it's Bereshit bara Elohim Shemaim va'et erez. So you have in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. The heavens and the earth there is a idiom for the universe. So in the beginning God created the universe. That's Genesis 1:1. And then it has a description of those events in the rest of Genesis 1, and then Genesis 2 is a focus. So Genesis 1 is this hyper view of God created the universe for the first instance of reality. Then you have a lower view of focusing on the earth and how the earth came to inhabit life. Then you have an even lower view in Genesis 2 of how the Garden of Eden was created and how Adam and Eve dwelled in it and what they were doing. And then Genesis 3 is the fall. So it's three branching views of grandness to specificity on Adam and Eve and the fall, because ultimately the Bible is about Jesus. So the Bible focuses on Adam and the line of Seth. Why? Because that leads to Jesus. That's why Paul talks about in Romans. So, Jesus is the new Adam. Jesus is the one that redeems us from sin. Adam is the one that brought sin into it by breaking the covenant with God. So you have all of that being combined. As far as the young earth versus the old earth, you have views on both sides. People bring up the same evidence for both sides, which is really confusing. So people use the evidence of the moon. They use the evidence of dating, radiometric dating of rocks. They use the evidence of the geologic layers, the Cambrian explosion, the sedimentary layers. They use the evidence of the fossil record. They use the evidence of the buried tree record that we have. So the geologic column is used by both young earthers and old earthers to great success. There are things that old earth cannot answer in the geologic record. And there are things that are extremely difficult for the young earth to answer in the geologic record. I don't think there is a clean solution for everything that we see. But I would say that it is the evidence is stronger for the young earth view, other than like 3 or 4 things that I think are pretty hard. Like, for example, the magnetic strips on the ocean's floor is pretty hard to describe as a young earther. We know the sun flips polarity every couple of years, and we can see that within the iron and all the other ferromagnets within the crust of the earth. And whenever you're looking at the crust on the ocean, this is more molten, so it has more freedom, more degrees of freedom to polarize and orient itself with the solar flares of the sun. And you see this flip-flopping pattern of the iron pointing north, and then the iron pointing south, and the iron pointing north. And as the magma's spouting out from like ocean ridges from magma, so like these are underwater mountain ranges or like underwater volcano ranges, might be a little bit closer. As the magma is spewing outward, it is in such a magmic state, it is able to be polarized by exposure to both the magnetosphere and the sun. And then that's causing these different orientations over time. So the old Earth view makes a lot of sense of that. The young Earth view, you would have to say that the dynamo of the Earth was spinning whenever the flood happened, and all of that occurred in like a couple years of time, all of the magmic activity and also the polarization. But we don't see super like the width of them is difficult to go through for a young Earth guy, but also the ice layers are extremely difficult to go through for the old Earth view, because you have volcanic activity that is very thick in the ice record, which doesn't make any sense. So these super volcanoes were erupting all over the planet throughout history. The volcanic ash gets captured in the snow because everything gets cycled throughout the atmosphere. So as volcanoes erupt, they eventually form ash in the atmosphere that gets caught in rain clouds and eventually snows in the Arctic. So if you dig a giant core into the Arctic, you get these layers of every snowfall. So whenever spring happens, those solidify, and then the next snowfall eventually solidifies. So then you have stacking ice layers all the way up. You have several thousand of years from the old Earth view. You have several thousand of years of development of active volcanic activity. And that is not really easily explainable. Like, volcanoes don't erupt that long, no matter what view you have of the Earth. Like, we don't have a great way to say that there was a super volcano actively erupting for like thousands or tens of thousands of years at a time. You just don't have that. So you have the ice being a difficulty for them. You have the magma being difficulty for The other side, you have the fossil record, which is easily explained in the flood model, and it's not that easily explained in the old Earth model, in my opinion, because the Cambrian explosion is incredibly difficult. The flood explains the fossil record significantly easier than an old Earth view of slow accretion of fossils throughout geologic time. The geologic layers themselves, like the Great Unconformity, that makes no sense. And also the fact that everything above the Great Unconformity is sedimentary layers, so they're layers deposited by water, or by like an aquatic air, like a dust bowl or something laying it down. So all rock is basically aqueous, like it was laid down in water, other than the bedrock below it, which is also tilted and is straight up. So rather than all of the rock layers being flat, you have the Great Unconformity, which has 1 billion years of time missing, and then all the rock layers are vertical. How? How did 1 billion years of history vanish from the rock record? I have no idea. Then why are the rocks incredibly different? There's not really a great explanation for it. So uniformitarianism seems to be false. Cataclysms appear to make the biggest difference on how geology has functioned throughout history. We don't really see much gradual change doing. So, like, was the Grand Canyon created by a little bit of water over a long time, or was it made by a lot of water over a little bit of time? We see canyons that are formed similar to the Grand Canyon very quickly with a lot of water, like Mount St. Helens created a mini version of the Grand Canyon in the span of days with a lot of water. So you have, including all the rock layers and all the hydrodynamic sorting and all that stuff. So you have a flood that could explain a lot of what we see in the fossil record, and also what we see with the forest and matting and everything else you see in that. Genetics itself is a little bit weird and hard. Abiogenesis is impossible. So you have to be some form of creationist. Either you're an old creationist and you're like a theistic evolutionist, or you're like the day age, or you're a young creationist. By the way, you have to be a creationist. Life cannot arise from non-life. It's impossible. That's what my stream is going to be on with David next week. I'm going to give a presentation on why abiogenesis is stupid. So I just spent the last like several weeks going through all that again. But you have lots of different evidences for both sides. But I think overall, the younger view makes sense to me. And then also it's easier to read with the Bible. You don't need to invent other things or other explanations. It just kind of works. So if you just want to take like a plain reading of the text, you can absolutely do it. Like we have successful models that do it. If you want to take an old Earth view of the text, you absolutely can. We have models that mostly work. It's just you have to, for both sides, you have to explain things that are difficult. The young Earth view makes more sense of dinosaurs than the old Earth view, because we have dinosaurs that have flesh on them still. If they're like 80 million years old, they can't have flesh. But we've dug up dinosaurs that smell like dead bodies. Like what? Like they smelled like cadavers. That's literally how they described it. It smells like a cadaver. So you have like rotting flesh on the bones of dinosaurs still. You have all that stuff. So there's just a lot of back and forth, and it would take literally hours to go through all the evidence for it. But hopefully you're still here with that.
I think ethics are a good thing. And I'm glad that scientists try to have rules, but if I could bring back dinosaurs, I would throw all of it out. I would lie. If they'd said I had to kill them all, I'd lie. I would lie. I'd get an island. Any money I'd have to steal, anybody I'd have to threaten, blackmail. I would do whatever I could to bring back dinosaurs. That is why God did not make me a scientist, because he knows I would have been corrupted. It was like if I was like moral purity or bring back dinosaurs. It was like, duh. I'm gonna bring back dinosaurs.
Literally, what did you think? Nah, I'm the same way. I think it's, of course, as a young Earth creationist, I think it's unfair that earlier generations got to see dinosaurs and I didn't. But as an old Earth creationist, I don't think. Did
y'all hear about where they blocked a protein development and a chicken embryo and it grew a dinosaur jaw? And then they killed it before it could hatch because of ethics. Do you know how not dead that thing would be? That dinosaur chicken.
If that were up to you.
If it were up to me, if I were in control of that situation, there is no way in hell that thing would be. There'd be hundreds of them running around in my house. I'd be throwing like bloody meat to them.
What do you mean? What do you mean,
Okay.
Do you mean like the whole thing, or just the mandible, or like what?
I think they like grew a jaw with teeth.
Oh my gosh!
I'd have those things everywhere. I'd train them to attack people.
Dodos, bro.
Just throw a bloody chicken leg at somebody, and then all of them.
Right.
So the problem with that is if you've not actually looked into the chimera experiments people have done,
it doesn't work.
They're pretty terrible.
Yeah.
They're pretty terrifying. Like human knees, for example, are human chip hybrids that people have made in labs. Breeding chimpanzees with human sperm.
Does it work?
Did some of those end up going into Dawa?
Yeah.
None of them are actually viable.
Wow.
They all die in either the womb or an infant, like newborn stage.
But what do they look like?
You can. I'll let you Google it yourself. I'm not going to bring it up on stream.
I'm not gonna. I don't want that on my search history.
Yeah. We also have like human pig hybrids that people have tried to make. You have a lot of weird stuff.
I think a couple of those have been elected.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I'm just gonna keep doing this the more you bring up.
So, but that is pretty interesting though. I feel like. So I had a conversation. Well, we need to get to our questions, so I'm not gonna talk about
okay, well, let's hear. I'm curious now. Can you like summarize the conversation you had, Chase? You have me hooked.
Yes. Right. Well, no, I was just gonna bring up the conversation because Chris brought up sperm with pig, and I thought of a conversation I had with my brother.
Dude, their penises are weird.
So he's my brother-in-law, but his brother is not my brother-in-law. So he's my brother-in-law's brother. He said, he asked me, he was like, do you think that general intelligence is viable or possible? And whenever you brought up pig-human hybrid, I was like, what level of consciousness would Sid being obtained? You know what I'm saying? And when we talked about general intelligence, because he's an atheist, I was like, yeah, I don't think that consciousness is possible outside of having an actual soul, and I don't think that computers have any such capability. So, but he was not so sure, and anyways, that just made me think of that. Sorry.
Okay, now we can get back on to the topic. I just had to scratch that itch.
Right.
So I had two related questions, but does Bereshit contain the story of Jesus within each Hebrew letters? I made a video on that. You can make a case for it, but using that same method, you can make a case for lots of things from the Hebrews. It's a very slippery slope. I would not be something I would stake my belief in Christianity on, but it's a neat thing. Yeah. And then I heard
Genesis all the names listed in Genesis. What is it?
Just 5.
Yeah. That what he's talking about?
No.
Okay, so the name list is super dope to me. That actually spells out the gospel.
All right.
Really cool.
I already have this open, so let's go ahead and pull it up.
I don't know if have you ever heard of this before?
Yeah.
The list of names before the flood?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, it perfectly lays out the gospel.
Yeah. Mankind will fall, and then God will send his son to redeem them from and give them rest. That's roughly the meaning of Genesis 5.
Right.
Let me bring this up. So this is real quick, unrelated, but this is Bereshit. My towel is bad looking. Hold on. I can't have Ash make fun of me. All right, so this is in beginning. So this is actually not part of the word. So this is the word for in, and then this is the word for beginning or the head of something. Because Reshit here means the front or the head of something, which becomes immediately obvious whenever we look at the symbols for everything. So pictographic, Hebrew was originally written with symbols. So you had a tent or a house for the B because of bit. So the way Hebrew developed was in Egypt, and these are Egyptian symbols that are representing these objects. They took the first sound, the first letter of each of these objects, and made that into an alphabet. There is a technical term for this type of language system that I never remember, but it's basically the sound, the first sound of every word becomes the alphabet and what it means. So like Elif is for Aleph, Bet is Bet, Gimel is Gamel, which is a camel. So you have like the Aleph is actually an ox. So they would do something like this.
Yeah,
So
that's how
like
the Paleo Hebrew ones look.
Right. Well, Paleo Hebrew developed from Proto-Sinaitic. So the original Proto-Sinaitic was literally like this. And then they actually had like eyes and a mouth for it. So this was your original version. Then it becomes more simplified for the Paleo Hebrew / Phoenician is what they often call it. But this then became Greek. So you have an A from your Aleph. So alpha from your Aleph.
I do my olives looking like a little
B.
fish.
So this becomes a B, and so on. Then your gamel becomes the gamel. So the Greek alphabet came from the Hebrew alphabet, which came from Egyptian. And then Latin came from Greek. So all of them are developing. But this one is the bets. This is the rosh, the head. This is the aleph, which is the ox. And then this is the teeth or the boobies. In Egypt, they are.
I always heard they were teeth. I heard the boobies.
So this gets into the question of, does this actually work? And then the yod is a hand for yad, and then the tau is a mystery symbol that I'll save for a second. So this is basically the house, the head, the power, or God is often what this represents. So I'll just give it the way. And we have destroyed. Just ignore my terrible spelling. And then hand, and then this last symbol. So we have the house and the head. People put this together as one word. So this word in Aramaic is bar, and that means sun. I can write off screen and it still works. Cool. So this is the sun. And then you can also say, oh, who's the head of the house? You can say, oh, what's the dad? You can also say it's the son, like the one who will take over the house, or the one who is of it, or like the first of the home is the idea. So you can make, oh, well, that combined makes son. You could add the aleph as God. So you could add the son of God, destroyed hand, and then this last symbol, the tau, in the original Proto-Sinaitic script was a cross. Well, Proto-Sinaitic comes before Paleo-Hebrew. So it goes Egyptian, Proto-Sinaitic, Paleo-Hebrew, Old Hebrew, Modern Hebrew. Old Hebrew became Greek, which became Latin, which becomes what all we use now. But Proto-Sinaitic was even before the Paleo-Hebrew. In Proto-Sinaitic, it's literally just a cross. In Paleo-Hebrew, it's more like this. But in the original, it was literally just a cross. So we have the Son of God will have his hands destroyed on a cross. And this word for like tishvot means like oath, and it means covenants. So you could also say this is a cross. You could also say this is a covenant, and so on. So you have the Son of God will have his hands destroyed on a cross in order to establish a covenant, all these things. That's pretty much the idea. There's a more interesting idea in the second word or I guess the fourth word in the sentence.
The direct object marker.
So this is the direct object marker. This is not actually translated in Hebrew, but this is an ox and a cross. And this word doesn't actually mean anything. It just describes who is being talked about in a sentence. So it is a grammatical structure. So like Bereshit bara Elohim is like, in the beginning God created. Etz hashmaim. Who created God? What did he create? The heavens. Va etz ha'eretz, so and the earth. But it's again, so those ets are controlling what's being created by who, when. That's the sentence structure of Genesis 1:1. This etz is the ox and the cross. Well, who is Jesus? He is the sacrificial lamb. He is the bull to be slain from the Yom Kippur sacrifice. So he is like this the sacrifice for the high priest. Where is the ox sacrifice? He sacrificed on the cross. But this is also the first letter and the last letter. So this is the first and the last. So who is Jesus? He is the first and last. He's the Alpha and the Omega. If you were to say Alpha and Omega in Hebrew, you would say Elif Tov or Elif Tal. So you have the first and the last is God. You have the first and the last being an ox on a cross. And you have this idea of, in the rabbis, God first created speech. He created the Aleph Tau, which is how they say alphabets. So we say alphabet from Greek, and that comes from Hebrew. But then instead of saying alphabets, they would say Aleph Tov. So the alphabet, God created speech, and this is the only time this word is interpreted by rabbis. Every other time it's not interpreted. So they say that this et here is actually supposed to be language, speech, and through speech, God created the heavens and the earth. So you have the idea of the divine logos, which is why we see it in the Targums. In the Targums, in the Aramaic translations of the Old Testament, we actually get in the beginning, with wisdom and knowledge, the memra, the logos, the word of God created and perfected the heavens and the earth. So they were interpreting this word, the first and the last, the bull on the cross, as the word of God who is responsible for creation, whose image we are made in at the end of Genesis 1, which is all really cool. So you can get through a lot of stuff with better sheets. But again, if you make this into boobies, which is the original meaning. So if you say, the Son of God has boobs and hands on the cross, that doesn't work nearly as well. If you don't make this into son, you just say a house with a head and God has boobs with the hands on a cross. Like, you can make the sentence not make any sense. So you can make it make sense in this like pseudo forced way. You can also make it not make sense with a different forced way.
I'm glad you said that, because I had I was like, should I give my pushback? Man, it's not worth it. But yeah, because you can see bar and that's sun. Well, if I'm going to do that, then I'm using 2 letters at a time to make a word. The next word's aish, which is fire. So sun, fire, and then yeet. Well, yeet. No, but the yod tav isn't a word. So, or it's a plural ending. And so it's just the I guess eam is an alt. It's just nothing. Yeah, it's not a plural ending. Sorry. It's just nothing. So that one feels a little more push, but I mean, yeah, maybe.
Yeah. So I mean, you can do stuff with it. You can play some Hebrew foo, like Greek foo, but
Hebrew foo is very much in Jewish tradition. So it's not like you're being totally alien to the text when you're playing Hebrew foo. They do it.
Literally everything I just did, rabbis do to explain their position. Like Rabbi Mordecai Kraft, for example, he was the one that introduced me to the idea. So like, I got this from rabbis. It's not, an unheard of thing in their system.
And they go crazy with the numbers associated with each letter also. Philo does that. Philo talks all about.
Yeah.
I like that term, Hebrew foo. That's right.
So, this was his next question. Tiger, you're still here. You can say something in the chat. Oh, he can't hear us. Okay. Tiger, if you're still in the chat, throw a W. If not, I'll answer your questions. You can watch it back and on the replay. We have disease, death, and perdition, suffering enter the world only after Adam's sin. How do we explain the false record? Again, so old earth creationists explain that as death not actually being part of the sin, or at least animal death not being part of the sin. There's different views of that there, but they basically, like Augustine, for example, makes a case that animal death is not necessarily a bad thing. Like suffering is bad, but it ultimately glorifies God. So you can make some philosophical cases against death being a result of the fall for all creatures. But I think there might be some, like there's passages in the New Testament that make that a little bit hard to maintain. As far as the fossil record, you can have an old earth view or a young earth view of the fossil record. And he's asked later on, if the fossil record would make it contradictory because of why are the fossils sorted by evolutionary order instead of mixed by size, density, and mobility? They actually are mostly mixed by size, density, and mobility, and they are not really that mixed by evolutionary order. Not only do you have the Cambrian explosion, which has no evolutionary order, just all of the basic body plans came into existence all at once. So like you go from nothing to everything instantaneously. And that is not really an explained thing in the fossil record. It doesn't make any sense. And you also have other things like plants coming before certain creatures, other creatures. Like you have there's like a bunch of fossils that don't make any sense whatsoever. Like animals dying. Like there's a dinosaur that was found in the ocean with food in its mouth. In an ocean crust, not on land that got sunk. In ocean crust, there was a dinosaur that got buried with food in its mouth. That's pretty strange. You have some animals that got buried and fossilized with their footprints below them in the fossil record. So like their footprints are like hundreds or thousands of years older than them, but then you have like the animal that caused the footprints above it. So like how there appears to be like it's going through rock as it's dying doesn't really make much sense. You have from some fossil record of like animal paths where they're like digging, they stop, they turn around, they dig back down. And so you have like these tunnels of animals that are fleeing from something and that end up getting fossilized as well. That is a bit harder with the older view of fossilization. You have fossilized jellyfish. How did that happen? Like just in general, like jellyfish are like 98% water. They dissolve instantly after death. How do we have hundreds and thousands of fossilized jellyfish we found? How do we have fossilized jellyfish on mountains? So like there's a lot of weirdness to it. The fossil record is not nearly as tidy as what uniformitarianist and evolutionist materialist make it sound. They make it sound like the super like understandable thing. We know all of it. There's no surprises. And in reality, we have like ooids in the desert. Like we have rock formations that formed in water in the desert, in desert sandstone. So
I'm just imagining a caveman with like a bag of jellyfish in like a water balloon launcher. It's just like shooting him up, trying to get him. Oh, I got it on the mountain. Boom. You know.
Yeah, I would just like all of you to know that your science textbooks that gave you supposed dates for dinosaurs and stuff are absolute bogus. None of that's actually true. I can't. The methods they use to date dinosaurs is insane. Like how
it becomes so it's not necessarily bad the way they do it, but it becomes incredibly inaccurate once you get past about 4,000 years.
Yeah, you get exactly. Once you get past a certain threshold of years, then it's like okay, because whenever you have something that's younger, so especially with like carbon dating, which is what I'm assuming you're talking about.
For that, but also, I mean, so you radiometric dating is interesting because the longer methods will always date things longer because they have a certain range in which they can date. So if you have something that's 50 years old and you use like argon dating, for example, or uranium dating, it's going to give you hundreds of millions of years no matter what. It has to. It can't give you anything younger than that.
Right.
If you give carbon-14 dating, it'll always give you something younger, regardless of how old it is, because it can only do up to a certain point. It can only do like 80,000 years. So if they say, oh, well, this is carbon dated to 2 million years, they're lying. It can't. So like they have to use different dating methods based on these rulers, but they're using assumptions based on the rock layers to date things to use those different methods on it.
Exactly.
So it's a circular reasoning that's built into the cake a little bit. And then you also have to know the original isotope concentration of daughter and parent isotopes.
Right.
And that is unknowable.
You can't know that.
And then there's inconsistencies with the dating. So like we have objects that are fossilized in rocks that are much older or much younger than them. So you have like some pollen that is dated to a certain point, rocks that fossilize it that is much, much younger. Then you also have like Nokia phones fossilized in fossils that are like, millions of years old. So how did Nokias get fossilized? Like how did a phone get fossilized with very, very ancient rock?
Your
Lots of
mom's a
different
million
things, lots
years
of
old.
different,
She's not fossilized.
Crazy. Yeah, you
lots of
have to
different ways to
know.
go through that.
You have to know how much of the original isotope was present in order to have accurate dating methods. It's almost literally impossible to know that. Like you can't really know that. And if you did, you could completely and totally accurately do it. Except sometimes you can't because you don't know how much of the isotope was, like if there was isotope that was reintroduced, or if more of another kind of so like if the daughter um have I don't remember what the name is in science because I took that long times ago, but um if the daughter has more than you would expect, then the chances are that there was actually some more that was introduced into the system, and so you're actually thinking that there was more originally of the isotope than there was. There's also the danger in assuming that it all had to have degraded, where it's like, well, no, some of that could have just been carbon before it degraded. And now you're adding another 45 billion years onto it because you see more carbon, and it's like, well, that was just actually just there.
It's also based on uniformitarianism, which is obviously false. So the belief that pretty much everything's been the same as it is today in the past. So then you can linearly date things to a certain extent. That is obviously false. Like we also have like the carbon-14 levels, for example, in the atmosphere have radically changed over time. The energy in our plasmasphere has radically changed over time. The location and dynamo speed of our magnetosphere has radically changed over time. We're not super confident that even like the rates of decay for like beta decay, like we're not even confident that it's been stable. Like even the speed of light, we're not even super confident that it's been stable the whole time. So things that we take as constants now, we have some evidence that they were not originally constants or that they're not even constants now. We just made them into constants using basically circular reasoning into the methods. But there's a lot of problems with so much of the dating method. Like Starlight, for example, is a really terrible dating method, which people don't really know about. Some two quick examples for people who've never dug into the actual specifics, because people just give generalities and people trust that that's actually the case. So how far do you think standard candles are accurate? Do either of you know anything about that?
No, I do want to say real quick though, you can run Christianity even on models that just take everything modern science says as fact. So it's like,
yeah, you can. No, you definitely can, and I wouldn't like.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say any of this stuff to like an atheist friend of mine because they wouldn't take me seriously. But it's just kind of like I really think that your whole. I really think that your Ash calls them your priests, your scientists are just not exactly being super honest and also know exactly what they're looking at. But you
know. So for the star dating, real quick for people, parallax dating. So this is or parallax distance. You basically have two observers, and then the angle of observation is how far away that thing is. That's the reason why there's space between our eyes. If our eyes were closer, we'd actually have really terrible depth perception. I have really terrible depth perception because I only have one working eye. So I have to account for depth perception. So I can actually, like, I can not really tell the difference between my pen being here and my pen being here. It's the same distance in my head. I realize that it's closer based on my experience, my brain learning how to do that because I got hit in the face by a bunch of balls.
Sorry.
I was going to clip that. Anyway, baseballs and dodgeballs and other types of balls. So I've been abused on my face by balls, and my brain came to understand how to avoid balls.
Chris,
so
like
that's how I
Imagine
learned
Dragons?
distance.
For those who don't know,
So-
Chris is being set up. Hey Chris, you like goblins?
Dude, you like fitness, Chris? Anyways. Dude, I got one of my buddies so good with this. So he's like pretty sheltered homeschool kid. Me and my cousin, we walk in. We were at camp, overnight camp. We walk into the cabin. He's sitting there. And so we start hanging out. And I'm like, hey, man, you like Imagine Dragons? He goes, I kid you not. He goes, bro, how did you know?
Imagine Dragons?
Yeah, literally. Like right into it. Oh, man. That was good. I think we're actually laughing too hard to actually finish the joke.
First he says boobs and now balls. Anyway, so parallax distance is basically the effective angle and distance you can get, and it's only effective at certain ranges. So like if I'm trying to tell the difference between if I'm like up on a mountain and I see two things in the horizon, like two towers, I can't actually tell the difference between those towers other than they're far away and they're on the horizon. Right, my guy.
Dude, you said if I see two towers on the horizon, and he put that in the chat.
We gotta block. There's people saying inappropriate stuff in the chat.
Yeah, who's saying that, bro? At least Schizo Gadfly fan down there.
Anyway, if there's a tower that's 2 miles away, versus a tower that's being a mile away, at that distance from me, I can't actually tell how far away each object is. I can tell they're far away, but not how far away. At about a light year away, parallax distance on our satellites falls apart. So the closest or like the farthest object we can actually reliably distance to us is about a light year. So right at the Oort cloud. Granted, we don't really see that many objects at the Oort cloud. It's too dark. So we really can only distance objects within our immediate solar system and some of the smaller exoplanets, because there's like 50 planets in our solar system. So the whole idea of planet X or planet 10, like we have dozens of planets in our solar system that are all just a bit smaller than Pluto. So they're dwarf planets or exoplanets. We have a bunch of them. They're all named. There's none like mysterious planets going to crash into the Earth. We see all of them. Anyway.
Yeah, when does Space Godzilla update hit?
Science fiction. So we can't actually tell the distance empirically of any star. So they're all based on standard candles and on redshift. The problem is whenever, especially James Webb Space Telescope just destroyed the belief, because very, very distant galaxies are fully formed and heavily redshifted. That doesn't make any sense from the Big Bang model. So if the Big Bang did actually happen, which there's debate within the special creation sphere, whether it was black hole cosmology or white hole cosmology, like if God created all of the universe and then Earth just so happened to be, or if the Earth was actually created first and then he stretched out everything around us in a white hole sense, not in the Menavelt, but if he stretched it all around us, and that's hole. Like this is what the Bible says, he stretched out the heavens. So the white hole would also explain that, but it's a little bit different cosmological system than the Big Bang model, which is more of a black hole expansion outward from a single point. So anyway, inverse operations, pretty similar math. Regardless of whatever setup you have, the redshifting doesn't really work. So we have heavily redshifted objects that are gravitationally connected to other systems. So like we have multiple star systems that are gravitationally linked, that have, one has like a Z index of like 0.9, one has like 2.4. That's impossible.
What does that mean?
Impossible. So like one of them says that it's like 100 million light years away. One of them's like 80 million light years away. But they're gravitationally linked. But they're 20 million light years apart from each other, or even further. It'd probably be like closer to 2 billion. So you have like 100 million versus like 2 billion distance away from us. Obviously the things, and then there's like dust between them. So you have like dust blocking light of heavily redshifted objects, and then dust not blocking light of heavily redshifted objects.
What is redshift?
The James Webb Space Telescope, redshift is the light spectrum. Whenever something's moving away from you, it's red shifted. Whenever it's coming towards you, it's blue shifted.
Right.
So that's the kind of the Doppler effect where
Like with with sound when it drives by.
Yeah. So they stretch as it is getting farther away from you. It contracts as it's getting closer to you. So the energy gets more, and like blue is more energetic. So yeah, red is lower energy. So as you get further away, your energy is decreasing. It's becoming red shifted. As it's becoming blue shifted, you're contracting. There's blue shifted objects and red shifted objects all over the universe, but the actual math breaks down quickly for hundreds of examples we've already cataloged.
How do you know that something has
a whole book on it?
Been red shifted though? Like, do you know what color it was before?
Observe it. Well, it's based on the current spectrum, so that's the Z index. So, like, what color is it right now?
So you can see like burning hydrogen close by, and you can see, oh, it lights up on this spectrum, this spectrum, this spectrum, and then you see it far away, and it's the same pattern, but it's all redder.
Right. No, I see what you're saying.
And the brightness of it.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's inconsistencies all over the place within that model. Whenever you actually look at the data, there's a couple cosmologists that have written whole books just cataloging those inconsistencies. Holland Arp, his work got co-opted by the Electric Universe people, which I would not fully endorse. There's a lot of loony bins in that. Like any fringe scientific theory is going to have crazy people in it, even like the standard belief. Your trolls background, even the standard belief.
Those are actually goblins.
Trolls 2.
It's from the movie Troll 2, but there's actually not a single troll in that whole movie. They're goblins. They go to a town called Nilbog, which is goblin spelled backward.
Backwards, yep.
I'm gonna make you watch that movie with me someday.
I'd actually like to watch the
movie.
I've
seen most of it.
I'll make you watch it too. We've been on live stream a couple times. I consider you a friend. I'm gonna force you to watch that movie now.
Hey, you don't have to force. Well, now I don't want to.
4 people.
I'm not gonna allow you to. It's like now I'm gonna do it.
Well, now I will. And now you have goblins behind you. All right. Okay.
Yeah. So you have Holland Arp wrote things redshift and other controversies. And that goes through the problems within the standard cosmos. So you can make a case that plasmoids, whenever they're energetic, they're naturally more redshifted. So you can make a case that instead of the whole universe receding from us and the Earth being around the center, you could also say that the whole universe is young. And that's why everything's redshifted. And because it has to do with the stability of the stars as well. Highly unstable plasmoids are naturally redder. So if it's just unstable because it's young, it's only a couple thousand years old, and it's a white hole cosmology, so it's stretched from us, which is how the light is connecting to us, then you can actually make a case for a young Earth creationist standpoint with the dating of the stars using the data that we observe from like the James Webb Space Telescope. So I might eventually make a video on that, but I don't really have plans to. But you can make a case for dating of the Earth and dating of starlights from both the old Earth and the young Earth view. And there's difficulties again, so it's not clean. Like even though I'm presenting difficulties with one view, there's difficulties with both views. There is not one neat, tidy method that explains all of the data. You have to have these like weird niche, like this is a counterexample, this is a counterexample. How do we go through it? And both sides have that. And I think it'd be a lot better for us if we just admit that we don't really have a good answer. But I would still say that I lean towards the young Earth from the years of study I've done on both sides. And I was an old Earth guy originally, became a young Earth guy. Well, leaning young Earth. I'm not dogmatic about it. If we came up with better solutions to like the I-square dating and the star dating, all this other stuff, I'd be fine being more old Earth. I think you'd have to reimagine the gospel how I usually present it. But I don't think it's an impossible. Like you can definitely be a fully devout Christian, Orthodox Christian, and be old Earth. No problem with it. It just depends on how you view the gospel, how you view death, how you view sin, and all these things, and how God actually redeems us from it. So you have to take a slightly different approach to a lot of those fundamental questions. That doesn't mean there's not answers for those fundamental questions. BioLogos is a Christian organization dedicated to showing that from the theistic evolutionist worldview. I don't agree with a lot of what they come up with, but they at least have a coherent system. But
I like Biologus.
All right, I'm gonna get some water if you guys want to tackle that while I go pee.
Why create the tree of knowledge of good and evil and place the serpent in the garden if God knew the outcome? You got a quick answer for that, Chase?
Why do anything, right? Like this is this is divine prerogative. This was what he did. I'm not going to, I don't know, like, people will say, oh, well, he did it because, in order to have a real relationship, you have to choose. And while I do think that that's true, you do have to have freedom of choice in order to have a real relationship. And it wouldn't really be a real relationship if it wasn't, if both choices weren't, like, viable options. And so placing the tree, making a viable option to reject, made the choice to accept that much more precious. While I do understand that, and I think that there's some truth to that, I just think that the Lord did, and this is how he wanted to, govern his universe, whatever he started it out. And I think that that's just how he operated then. I don't know that even eternity will tell us exactly why the Lord wanted to have a relationship with us, but I'm glad he did.
With the why questions, if you have young kids, you get lots of why questions, and eventually why question, a chain of them will have to end with, well, that's just God's nature.
Yeah.
So with this one, yeah, I think there's a lot of wisdom in what Chase just said. But it is worth talking about it just to think about it a little bit. So the word yada is the word for knowledge in Hebrew, and it's experiential knowledge. So it's when you actually do something. So when you're and it's even used as a euphemism for sex in the Old Testament. He knew her. It's that same verb, yada. So the knowledge of good and evil is like experientially knowing good and evil.
Mm-hmm.
And the serpent, Mike Heiser's work, he believes that the serpent is actually a throne guardian, kind of like a seraphim. And so it'd be natural for a seraphim to be in the garden where divinity and humanity are coexisting together, the Edenic ideal, because Yahweh is there, and so would the throne guardians. Like that, you see throne guardians like this in Ezekiel and in other theophanies in the Old Testament. Yeah, Chris, we're answering why, if God good, why tree of good and evil, why the option, why the serpent? This would probably go into my theodicy. My theodicy, a theodicy is the answer to the question, why evil? If God is all good and all powerful, why does evil exist? And my answer for that, I've thought about it, and I struggled with it when I was an atheist too, and coming back into the faith. So let's say there is no tree in the garden and of good and evil, and it's like, okay, and let's just remove evil and have it where there's no pain, right? Because that's really what's bad is pain. We don't like pain.
I like this. Let's elevate the garden to Jannah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have lots of rivers of wine. And I like the post-pubescent hories. I don't know about you guys. So we'll have them a little older. No, but and Alvin Planiga, we talked about him earlier when he was talking about his theophany. He's like, you can always have more dancing girls and coconuts, right? So you imagine this universe that has no pain. Well, I might get bored, and then I go, well, there's no pain, but I get bored sometimes, and I feel like if there was a God, I would never get bored. Right. So let's say it's just happiness all the time and everyone's totally happy. Well, if there was a God, I'd be even more happy than this. And so let's crank up the happiness all the way. And you end up, the only universe you can have is one of just infinite happiness. There's no complexity. And just imagine this one brain that's infinitely sized. It's experiencing an infinite amount of happiness. Well, that seems like a really boring reality. So I think there's something good in prioritizing things besides just happiness. So then you end up with a metaphysically complex universe like the Garden of Eden, one that has good and evil and choices and consequences. And even like when you were a kid, you didn't have as many choices, you didn't have as much freedom. Now you're an adult, you have more choices, you have more freedom, but with that is responsibility. And the Garden of Eden is the human experience. Adam's name is man. Eve's name is life. So human life is in this garden. We have this choice of good and evil. And so it's just speaking to where we are in a metaphysically complex situation. God could have made a super simple reality where all that exists is just one happy brain, but then you wouldn't exist, right? And so approaching Chase is very wise and say we can't answer all the questions. We don't know everything. Ultimately, questions are going to end with God's nature. But it is good to play with ideas like, okay, well, what sort of reality would it have to be before I wouldn't have a problem? And then you realize you're in an awkward position too.
Yep.
I'm gonna bring up a stream IP just did. Oh, IP just did.
I just always appreciate like claiming like why questions when it comes to the Lord genuinely just become unhelpful after a little while. And whenever it comes to like why did the Lord create the universe the way he did, I don't really know, but I just know that he did. Or like, you know, John Lennox famously said, how does God, which Chris wouldn't agree, but how does God know the future while still maintaining the freedom of human choice? I don't know, but I do believe that he does. So that's just kind of those are kind of always my answers to the hows and the whys. I have good reason to believe what the Bible says, and the Bible tells me what, and not always how and why.
Yes. Oh man, they didn't actually post it. IP did a wonderful presentation on the problem of evil at the conference. I was gonna link that, but I can't find it on L's or Eric's YouTube, and IP didn't have it on his either. So I don't know if we'll actually be able to show that, but he went through the problem of evil with great detail, and he went over the problem of suffering specifically. There's a good book called "If God, Why Evil," that I would believe it's Norm Geisler. He goes through very simply the problem of evil. I'm gonna make a video on the problem of evil soon-ish, hopefully. We'll see. That was actually the first video I recorded, but I did it for my church, so I'm not gonna post it because that would then dox where I go to church, and I'm not gonna do that. So, I'm going to re-record that for my YouTube. But we have God wanting to create the best possible universe for humanity for eternity. Does that actually look like a universe where it's all good all the time, or does that look like a universe where evil happens? And obviously the answer actually becomes it's a world where evil actually happens. And I have a pretty base thing my wife painted that says a smooth sea never created a skilled sailor. So you can't actually become the type of person, the type of character that God wants you to have for eternity, one that doesn't desire sin, one that has confidence, one that has all of these good characteristics that make you a wonderful person. And you can't grow it unless you've endured. You can't endure unless there's suffering and hardship or challenges. So you need something real, rigid, and difficult in order to grow at all in general. Growth requires pain. And that pain, a lot of the times people will always say, you know, that sucked at the time. That was really, really low. Like, for example, me going through depression and self-harm and unaliving myself tendencies for a decade. That was really bad at the moment. I would not change that I went through it, which sounds weird. Like, you went through some really messed up and terrible things. You did a lot of messed up and terrible things. I might change me doing some of those things, but I would not change it for my own sake. I would change it for the sake of the victims that I hurt in the process. But me suffering caused me to be the person I am today in so many different ways. And it caused me to grow in ways that I can't even imagine. Me suffering with my children caused me to be a father in ways that I wouldn't have been if I didn't suffer with my children.
Chase,
me
are you
suffering with
also
my
a
wife
father?
caused me to be a husband in ways. No.
Yeah.
It caused me
Well,
to
I
be
have
a
a
good
black
husband in ways.
Labrador. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry for interrupting, Chris.
That's fine. So me struggling with my wife is causing me to be a better husband. It could also cause me to be a worse husband if I then like started being abusive due to stress or anger. If I started being neglected, if I started being distant, if I just left her, the suffering and pain could have caused a worse result, but it has ultimately caused a better result because I went through it. So is all suffering unnecessary? I would say no. Suffering does cause us to grow and achieve these things that God wants us to have for eternity. Because if you think about it, this life is like that. It's a blink. It is nothing. It is vapor. Where eternity is for literally forever. So what's happening now, David Soares, whenever he talked about it this way, I loved the way that he talked about it at the conference. You should go next year. He basically said like, this whole reality is a dream. And you can actually have nightmares. You can have dreams that teach you things. You can have dreams that illustrate your ideas, what you're thinking, your subconscious worries. That dream, even if you're suffering in the dream, like let's say it's a horror dream, you're being like killed by like Freddy Krueger. That dream, whenever you wake up, there is no lasting trauma. There is no lasting physical difficulty that you experience from the dream, but you've grown as a person by enduring in your dream. This happens a lot. So like I'm having like an argument with my wife. Granted, I don't dream that much, but for you normal people, let's say you're having a nightmare about like having an argument with your wife or your spouse or like family member, and this is like a deep-seated insecurity that you have. And in the dream, it has allowed you to voice these opinions that you've repressed. When you wake up, you don't have any of the trauma of the fight. You don't have any of the trauma of the hurt, but you do now have this clarity of maybe something you should focus on fixing in the future. So eternity, the resurrection is basically like waking up from the dream of this life. This life, even though you're going through suffering, even though you're going through hurt, there will be no lasting trauma in eternity. There will only be the lasting growth. So we're suffering now, but it will ultimately be used for good. And then we get this in Genesis 49, where what you meant for evil, God meant for good, for the salvation of many. There's also related to the Hebrew of Joseph's name, which also is a typology of Jesus, and it's really cool. Very nerdy. I did a stream on it.
I think I'm gonna head out, fellers. Sorry. I just now realized what time it is.
Your curfew.
So I gotta get out of here. I want to make sure to spend time with the Lord in the morning. So I encourage all of you, wake up, if you don't, just a little bit earlier than you normally would. Spend some time in the Word. Spend a little bit of time in prayer. Start your day right. Don't be lacking. You have to be poured into before you can pour. Good night. I love all of you.
Yes.
That's the first time that's ever happened. That's the first time I wasn't the first one to leave a live stream.
That is indeed true. You're actually the last one to leave. You out-survived 5 people. How does it feel?
Oh, wow, you're right. Yeah, we did have a bunch of people on here. I'm like the Terminator.
Steven might come up, though, so you're not going to outlast him. Well, we'll see.
If he gets on, I'm getting off. It'll really just be because I'm tired. I want to talk to him for a second, though.
Hey, Alex. Hopefully you're doing good. Hopefully your family's good. Nice to see you. She's on your channel, too. She's not even on my channel. Man. Okay.
She betrayed you.
She has betrayed me. Hopefully
it's because I have a better thumbnail. Did you see my thumbnail, Chris?
I saw the title. I didn't see the thumbnail. Why?
It's so stupid.
So stupid. Okay.
What's funny is I set that up before I even made the goblin joke, and I wasn't even thinking about that when I made the goblin joke. But there you go.
Oh, it's so good.
Everything connects in the end. It's all connected.
Yeah. So you have all the theodicy stuff. You also have like, well, why did he give us choice? I'm a weird guy. I believe that there's actually free will, and that we could choose and change reality based on our choices. Like we can actually go against God's wishes for us. And all like that's called open theism. I have a version of open theism and Molinism that I hold to, but it's not like traditional. Except like if you buy a open theism book, they're not going to espouse the exact same beliefs that I would hold to. But
is open
I believe that the future.
They don't believe God is all knowing because that would conflict with having free choice or something.
Kind of. So the position is on God's free will. Does God have free will? If you answer yes, then it becomes difficult with his omniscience and his pre-knowledge. So if God has exhaustive foreknowledge of all actions that every being will take, he also has all exhaustive knowledge of all actions he will take. If he has exhaustive knowledge of all actions he will take, he doesn't actually have free will. Because then he can't go against the knowledge that he has of the future of the actions he will take. So how can God preserve his free will and preserve his omniscience and his foreknowledge? Well, you can say, oh, we can like appeal to Molinism. God knows all possibilities. And then you could go a step further and say that God knows all possibilities with the percentage of their chance of happening. Molinist might actually say he knows all possibilities, but he also knows the one that will actually happen, which still runs into the free will problem. But if you say God actually has free will and he has all of the knowledge of all possibilities, which we get this in the Bible. So Jesus says, if Sodom and Gomorrah repented, or no, it'd be easier for Sodom and Gomorrah. Like if I did these miracles in Sodom or in Tyre, they would repent. So that's an if clause. He answers an if clause with a truth claim. It seems to be that Jesus actually knows the outcome. If that's possible, then he has middle knowledge. So God has middle knowledge. He knows all the ifs and buts of reality, what would have happened, how it would have happened with extreme specificity. So my position would be God maintains his free will based on the fact that he's not entirely certain which possibility will happen. Not that he's not omniscient, but he knows all logically possible things. And if the future is open, it's not logically possible to know with certainty, with like absolute certainty, what will happen. If the future is open, it's logically impossible to know with certainty what will happen. He will have probabilities, he will have structures in place and all these things, and he'll still have all knowledge of all possibilities, but it's not this is like, can God make a burrito so hot that he can't eat it?
That sounds right to me.
Contradiction. It doesn't. Right. So I would just say, like, logically, it might not be possible to know the future with certainty, but he has all of this middle knowledge and all of these expectations. And this also explains in with David and Saul, he was chased to the city. I think it's Koriath. And
I know what you're talking about, where there's a contingency.
There's a contingency. So he gets the ephod and he asks a yes or no question. And God answers yes. So he's like, hey, will Saul chase me to this city? God said yes with the ephod. He says, will the people hand me over to Saul? And he said yes again. So then David leaves the city. Saul hears that David left the city, and then he goes back home. So he asked a question, will Saul come here? And God answered, yes, he will. David leaves, Saul no longer goes there. So was God lying? Because he knows the future. He knows that Saul wasn't going to come there. Is God lying? Or was he actually answering as reality was going to happen without God's intervention of answering the question? Whenever God intervened, David then changed his will to not stay there and to leave, which then caused Saul to change his will to then not pursue him, but go home. So that makes, in my opinion, a little bit more sense under an open view of the future, where our free will choices actually affect reality, and God's free will choices affect reality as well, versus having either our future set in stone or God's future set in stone, or both. So that's a bit more of my view. I would just say that there are some things that are hard set in place, like creation was hard set in place. God chose to enter into creation. And whenever he did that, he entered into time, because I take a cause and effect view of time, not a mode A where it's like a part of space. I don't actually view space-time as a legitimate description of what time is. I view time as cause and effect.
I always had those reversed in my head. I think that is the A theory of time, the one that goes in a series, and B theory is the single bubble.
I believe it's B is the series and A is the bubble.
Now you have me doubting. I'll have to look it up later.
I could be wrong. Yeah, look it up and tell me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
But from the conversations I've had about it, I'm pretty sure it's B is sequential. Anyway, so you have this sequential order of time. Once God enters into the cause and effect at any point in time, he then can't leave it. So that would be basically my view of how God enters in. He also says, I'm the God of the living. It seems like God is actively living in our presence and in our, like, relationally with us, rather than being abstract and outside of time. So I just hold to a different view of that. But again, that's not a limitation on God. I'm not saying that God's not all powerful or knowing or all these things. I'm saying God willingly chose to enter into reality to be relational with us, and that limited himself. But it was by his own will, by his own choice, to limit himself to have relationship with us. Because again, relationship is the highest good. It was a better good for God to be limited in this way than for us to not have relationship with him. That'd be roughly my view, summed up very quickly. But of course, there's obviously nuance. People will bring up counterexamples and all that stuff. But
Talons and let me address that. Talons and Tails 501. I hope I don't sound rude, but it's okay. You can challenge me anytime. I don't care. I'm a lawyer. I've been in the room. Everyone hated me many times. But that sounds a little like dangerous thinking, because if you can go against God's wishes, it suggests you're more powerful than God. I don't think so. So my children are not more powerful than I am. And I could rule over them and stand in the room and spank them every time. Let's say I make a rule, don't touch that teddy bear, right? I can stand there over them and spank them every time they try to touch the teddy bear. Or I can, like, don't touch this teddy bear, please. Appreciate it. And I leave the room. I can watch them on a monitor and I can see them touching it and get mad at them and chew them out later, but I'm still giving them the freedom to touch the teddy bear. I haven't lost any power. I'm not any less powerful in this scenario than I was when I'm sitting there spanking them every moment. And so it's not a limitation on my power, but just a demonstration of the way that I'm running my empire, right? Applying that to God. It's just the way he's running his universe.
Yeah. He chose to give us free will, and in doing so, that allows us the ability and freedom to alter reality, which also it makes a little bit more sense of some of the Old Testament passages that talk about how we did things against God's will for us.
That's like 2/3 of the Old Testament. It's all the prophets. Jonah. So what was he doing?
Yep. So God regretting making humanity, you could say, oh, that is, like, you can explain that in a way that makes sense in closed theism. But you could also just say it's open theism, and God had a probability that we would sin in this way, but he had a hope that we wouldn't. And same, like, why did he make the Garden of Eden with when he knew we were going to sin? Under the open view, there was a possibility that we wouldn't have sinned. So we might have avoided all suffering and had never sinned. Now, is that, a possibility? That's up for debate itself. Like, if we're free will agents, eventually we're going to sin. But there may have been a possibility where we didn't ever sin, where Satan never sinned, and we just lived in essentially eternity now forever. There never needed to be the cross. But as soon as humanity sinned, the cross was already in view. And the cross was already in view before he created the universe. So God was always accepting and putting it onto himself that I will die for my children. Whether or not that needed to happen, that's up for debate. But as soon as sin happened, it automatically, like, yes, Christ will come redeem us from sin. The exact moment in which that'll happen, I think, is a little bit up for debate. It's again why conditional prophecy seems to make more sense in an open view versus a closed view. Because if the system is closed, our choices don't actually matter, they don't actually decide anything, then how does conditional prophecy even work? That doesn't make sense. How does conditional prophecy why would God do it that way? It just seems like God is being deceptive. Like, why not just say, hey, this is exactly what's going to happen. This is exactly what's going to happen, rather than giving us a choice or having it change based on our choices. It's just, yeah.
The thoughts on the Garden of Eden are making me think about what I think is the strongest form of the Islamic dilemma, but it takes so long to set up. I don't know how you could ever cue it off or run it in a real situation. But the Bible, main themes, the Garden of Eden is the place where divinity and humanity are coexisting together. So that is the goal. Well, what's the problem? Our own sin has caused us to have to be in exile. And we're desperately trying to get back to that place of the Edenic ideal where we're together. That is the story of the Bible. Now you look at the Quran, and the Quran is confirming and saying that it is a, we believe in your book and in your books and in the book sent down to us. It's a confirmation of the prior scriptures. Well, it's like the whole main theme of the prior scriptures is this theme of being in God's presence, sin, exile, and needing redemption. None of that's in the Quran. So it's not actually a sequel. But to run that with a Muslim, you have to sit and teach them the Bible and prove all those points. Then you have to sit and teach them the Quran. Well, actually, the Quran is confirming this. It is saying that it's the continuation of the prior stories. So you have to demonstrate that is the meta narrative of the Bible. And that's kind of difficult to do, but if you've spent your life reading the Bible, that's the meta narrative of the Bible. That's the big picture story. It has nothing to do with Islam.
Oh, also, I just realized that he might have said he's in the green room, but he's in the wrong stream because I didn't use my normal link. So
that
Steven,
poor guy.
If you're still here.
Oh no, Steven.
Or if you joined the normal link, this is a temporary link for call-ins so that anyone can join. So if you
can you Discord that too? Oh, it's in the join. He's in the Steven, you're in the Discord.
I know. I added him. I also DM'd him with the link, so I'll see if he was in the wrong stream or not.
I figured it was a new link, so that's why I clicked it, and here I am.
Yeah, absolutely.
Poor guy.
Oh, I did want to point out one interesting thing. So we went through a little bit earlier how Tav, the last letter of the Hebrew alphabet is a cross in the original Hebrew script. So like the Bereshit, it ends with, the hand is destroyed on the cross. Here we have an interesting story in Ezekiel 9. So this is Old Testament, and it was written originally with either the Paleo Hebrew or the Old Script. It's a little bit of a debate because this happened during the exile. But we could say it might just be the Aramaic script. It could also be the Paleo Hebrew. I would lean towards Paleo Hebrew. If it is Paleo Hebrew, there's a very interesting thing happening in the text. So this is Ezekiel 9. And then he cried out in my hearing with a loud voice, saying, "Draw near, O executioners of the city, each with his destroying weapon in his hand. Behold, 6 men were coming from the direction of the upper gate, which faces north, each with his shattering weapon in his hand. And among them was a certain man clothed in linen, with a scribe's case at his loins. Then they went in and stood beside the bronze altar." This is the temple. "Then the glory of the God of Israel went up from the cherub on which it had been," so this is the Ark of the Covenant, "to the threshold of the house of Yahweh, to the entrance of the temple. And he called to the man clothed in linen, at whose loins was the scribe's case. Yahweh said to him, Go through the midst of the city, even through the midst of Jerusalem, and put a mark on the foreheads of the men who sigh and groan over all the abominations which are being done in its midst. But to the others he said in my hearing, Go throughout the city after him and strike. Do not let your eye have pity, and do not spare. Kill to utter destruction old men, chosen men, virgins, little ones, women, but do not touch any man on whom is the mark. And you shall start from my sanctuary." So they started with the elders who were before the house. So this is super interesting. In both these passages, it is the same word for this mark. It's also interesting that the eldest people are the ones in front of the temple. So they started with the old men in front of the temple because they're being a bit more pious. But this mark on the foreheads is literally tau. It's tav in the Hebrew. That's too big. So this is the word for the letter. So this is a cross on the foreheads of the people who believe and follow Yahweh sincerely. So those who are saved of the destruction of Jerusalem and of the temple are those who are marked with a cross on their foreheads. And you look at Revelation, and they have a cross on their foreheads to be marked for eternal salvation. So I should have brought this up earlier. Super neat thing in the Bible. This stream was promised to Stephen over 3,000 years ago. I'm super curious if Stephen is. My wife wants me to take the. I'll probably hop off soon, but
I'll have to. Also,
then he also he asked this question: why does God have to be good? This is the argument of the maximally great being. You can go through that. So if God is maximally great in all these attributes and all these virtues, goodness is one of the virtues in which he's maximally great. And then you can ground goodness and evilness in the morality of God, in his character, the character of God, the unchanging character of God. Stephen lives behind the scenes and will jump up. Are you in the wrong stream, Stephen? Did you join the wrong StreamYard link?
He just texted us some nonsense about slime, too. It's like he's acting like a goober. There is slime available, and then an emoji with shades on. He's just out there trolling. He doesn't want.
Yeah, he's being a weirdo.
Oh, he said
you do have. So I sent you the link on Discord for the actual this one. Then vomiting. Okay, so we do have that where God has to be ultimately good due to him being the maximally great being. That's a whole argument. Whether or not that's valid, you can go through William Lane Craig does a good job going through that argument. If you want to go through the maximally great being argument, and we can demonstrate God's goodness in creation. Like beauty exists. Why does beauty exist? Why do emotions that give us warmth exist and all that?
There's an argument called the argument from limits, and it's like the simplest being would be all powerful, because if they had some kind of limitation, you'd have to explain why there's this limitation. And so then there's this environment or being that's outside, bigger and more constrictive than this being. Well, what is that greater reality? And so eventually you get to what Chris is calling the maximally great being. If the argument for limits hints at the fact that there would be this ultimate being that wouldn't be lacking in any sort of way. And so let's say that God exists and he's just a little bit bad. It's like, what? Like, why is he a little bit bad? What causes that? What is the constriction on him that's, so you can kind of run an argument from limits. It's like, well, if he's the ultimate being, like what would there be out there that's making him a little bit bad?
Yeah. You can use that same argument to get to monotheism as well. Like if there's an ultimate being, there's an ultimate power, can there be two ultimate powers? No. Can there be lesser powers? Yes. But ultimately you need one ultimate being to be the grounding of reality, who's the grounding of all existence, but morality itself has to be grounded in the ultimate being's unchanging character and nature. Otherwise it becomes the whims of the gods, and the whims of the gods can change. So what is immoral one day all of a sudden becomes moral, like Islam has that problem. So you need a system where your morality isn't changing day to day based on the whims of the deity, but is stable. You need an orderly universe, an orderly set of logic and rules that govern the universe. You need an orderly set of morality that governs our justice. Otherwise, justice isn't real. If your morality is based on the whims of God, there is no justice anymore. No absolute justice, at least. Because then, if I'm being judged based on the morality of this day, why am I not being judged the morality of that day, in which I was moral that day, but I'm not moral this day? So the God of that system can't be an actually just ruler. So if justice is a thing that actually exists, which if evil exists, justice has to exist, or I guess you could say justice would, like, there'd be a failure of justice, but the idea of justice is a natural byproduct of good and evil. So if you're positing that God has to be good or is being this ultimate being, you get the idea of justice. You might get the idea of mercy. That's not a direct follow, but justice is a direct follow. And then you run into all these other details that make other systems impossible. Like, hey, you finally made it. Like polytheism, or like a benevolent god, like an evil deity. Like those are not logically possible systems from the philosophy side of things. But and people have written many books on those topics.
Yeah, including me. I've written like 14 books, and
out of the darkness he emerges.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, I've not written any books. It's a very tedious task. Chris knows.
It sure is. Yes.
I've tried before, and I get like 20 minutes in, and I think I've done 20 minutes of work, and as books go, I've done like 2 pages. And if to quote Muhammad Hijab, if the trajectory continues as it is, then I'll be probably 412 before people can get through the first chapter, and so I just abandoned it. But hey, guys.
You're a liar! Liar! Underqualified, overconfident, ultra-crepidarian, academic charlatan, right-wing apple polisher.
Apple polisher? That will never not be. That's a thing that needs to come back. When you call someone an apple polisher, that's like, that is so old-timey, but still
doesn't need to come back.
So like, that's like calling someone. I mean, a booger eater would be more insulting than an apple polisher. but some,
I mean,
there's like
the way it's used now, it's basically calling you gay.
Well, you could, yeah, I guess you could take it that way. But I imagine it'd be like a shoe shiner. You know, an apple polisher is the same type of thing as a shoe shiner. Which is what, like. Well, anyway, hey guys, I tried to get in earlier, but I was I was not doing it correctly because I'm an ultra trepidarian or whatever Muhammad Hijab would call it.
I just put that as a tweet. I tweeted, had a Muslim call me ultra crepidarian apple polisher. I'm devastated. Think I might throw in the towel and just convert to Islam.
Yep. It's time to hang up the gloves and just.
They win. They win.
You troglodyte.
What a dumb insult. Ultra crepidarian.
Well, it sounds substantial. But
it was Yasser Qadi that popularized that. I don't remember.
Really? It was Yasser Qadi? Really?
Yep.
Okay.
He was like encouraging people. He was like, you need to start calling them ultra crepidarians. Like,
that'll do the trick.
What did that accomplish?
That'll throw them off the trail.
You obviously did not go to my high school. That's how you got your you know what beat. Saying words like that. Thinking you're gonna bully someone.
Well, I realized that I've probably tuned in at the end of everybody's energy level. It's about to be 1 o'clock my time, so no need to continue on if it just.
I was gonna cut you off anyway.
Yeah.
I gotta get on. I got 3 kids. All of the grandparents are out of town. I'm cooked, man. This was dumb. It's a bad idea.
Yeah, no, dude. Like, I've had a migraine for 3 hours, so I'm gonna go refresh my ice pack and go to sleep.
I was just having withdrawals because we skipped last Monday.
Yeah.
I needed my fix.
Yeah.
So I'll have to revisit the whole stream because I missed the whole thing. I had a pre-Shabbat gig earlier tonight, and then I had to leave early, and then I got home, and I was like, "Ooh, if they'll have me up, I'll just get on and I'll just be a bit of a pest or whatever, and I'll say, hey Chris, because I think the prompt was, what is the prompt? Like, I'm a Christian, ask me anything. Yeah, I was gonna say, hey, so why do you eat bacon, Chris? But
because it's delicious.
It is delicious. I have eaten bacon, so I can attest to that. It is delicious.
He knows the wonders. He knows the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil.
It was just bacon laying over a branch.
But I realize that I've gone far too late to stir up any. I hope you guys. I hope in the since the beginning of the stream up until this point, you've had some pretty cool stuff going. I saw Chase was on earlier, and he's always got some good stuff to say. And that was when I was in the wrong link, trying to get on, and so then I lost that part of it. I am an ultra crepidarian. I don't know how to work Discord. So anyway,
how long were you actually in the green room?
Oh, about probably 40 minutes, I would say. And I thought, man, they must really they're probably trying to wrap it up. And then I thought, well, I'll check in with YouTube.
It's like analogous to knocking on the wrong home.
Yes, exactly.
He's just sitting outside the home, ringing a doorbell in an empty house.
And say, hey, what are you doing here? Like, we don't have any sugar.
I was gonna say earlier, if the forbidden fruit had been just bacon hanging over the branches, the snake would have come out and been like, "Hey, if you eat that, you'll be like," and he wouldn't even be able to finish the sentence. He would be like, "Shut up!
Yeah.
Shut up, you stupid animal!" Yeah, we don't need words here.
Set up a GoFundMe to get Steve a light bulb. Just get the moon brighter.
It's Friday, I guess. So Chris, Monday we'll be back.
Shabbat.
We'll be back in John.
Yeah, we'll be finishing up John.
Steven, you're into Jewish stuff. You should have candles around there somewhere. Jews have candles everywhere.
Yeah, no. Well, on Shabbos, or that's what my daughter would say, because she's gone full Ashkenazi because she likes Benny Friedman and Mordechai Shapiro. I think I talked with this about Chris. In our house, it's always been Shabbat or Shabbat, and but there's these couple of Orthodox singers, and they actually do really good music. They do. Benny Friedman and Eighth Day. A lot of their songs are just they're straight from the Psalms. So they have like a cross appeal. Not making a pun with the cross, but like Jews and Christians can appreciate them because it's just from the Psalms. But so my youngest daughter, she's really loved Benny Friedman and Mordechai Shapiro. They're unsaved Jewish singers, but their music is based off of Psalms, but they're Ashkenazi, and so they pronounce Shabbat as Shabbos. And so in our house now, because she's the youngest and she's cute, and so what she says goes. And so she says, "Oh, it's Shabbos. It's going to be Shabbos." And so now, in our house, it's gone from Shabbat to Shabbos. And I don't remember.
She's way too cute to be like, no, it's not. Yeah,
right.
I was about to stay an extra 20 minutes at your house.
Yeah.
She was gonna show me her pink bike. I was super excited about it, so I was gonna stay an extra 20 minutes just to watch her ride around on her bike.
Yes.
I was like, I'm gonna get home at 10 p.m. right now if I leave. Let's going home at midnight. That's fine.
Yeah, she insisted on staying up till Chris got it, because Chris got here late each time, and she insisted that she's got to be up to see Chris because and she's very picky. She's very selective. And I actually didn't expect her to like it, because she actually used to get mad because she's like, Baba, can we do such and such tonight? And I'd say, well, no, I got to do a live stream tonight. And she goes, ugh, live stream. But then every time she'd see Chris on my phone, she'd go, oh, that's Chris. You should tell Chris I said hi. And so a couple times I did. But then when I told her, hey, Bertie, Chris is coming in town. And she goes, what? And so she normally goes to bed like 8:39. But Chris got in, I think the first night he got in around
11:30.
Yeah. And the second night, I think it was
went to bed at 1, woke up at 4.
Yeah. But so Lala was like, she probably needs to go to bed. And I was like, there's no way. Birdie needs to see Chris. And the funny thing is, she's on the couch. She was watching Ninja Turtles. Or the first night it was Lion King. She was watching Lion King. And
the second night was Lion King. The first night it was not.
Oh, okay. So the first night must have been Ninja Turtles then. But she was visibly very tired. And Lala's like, we need to put her to bed. And I said, no, Lala, there's no way that she can't not meet Chris. She's like, yeah, you're right.
She's 5, by the way.
Well, yeah, she just turned 6. And she was just thrilled. And so the funny thing is, Chris gets in, we all say hi. And then she had some weird moment the first night where she had to show you something. I forget what it was, but she had to show you something. And then she just like took herself to bed.
Yeah. She showed me her guitar.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah, her little.
She showed me a couple of different things.
Yeah, she was thrilled though, and I couldn't, because it was pretty late and for her and Lala, my wife was like, she's got to go to bed, and I was like, Lala, we can't. There's no way Chris could be in our house that Bertie can't see. And so we let her stay up. But then she just did, she went through her motions. She's like, hey, oh, yes, hello, Chris. And then she said, look at this. And then she went to bed.
Yep.
And
so I didn't know what your house looked like. I just had the address. And I was pulling up to your house in dark neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know which house it was. I was like, oh, I'm going to have to try to, because I couldn't see the numbers of any of the houses. But then I look, and then in one of the doors, there was a little shape of a head. Right. And they have the split door. So the top of a window, I see this little hedge shifting back and forth. And I was like, that's probably Bertie. So then I pulled in there.
It was
and I see the door immediately swing open. I was like, oh, yeah, this is the right house. And Steven,
that's right.
Sasquatch,
and then the second time he came,
lumps out the house.
She goes, hey, Baba, I think Chris will be wearing his yellow shirt. And I was like, oh, really? And then she goes, oh, nope, it's a blue shirt. So it's my household is fans. We've got Chris has fans. Not to not to give him any more, not to enlarge his head anymore because he signed books and stuff. I actually did want him to sign something like a Bible, like the cover page of my Bible, something just as a look at that head.
That's a beautiful head right there.
It is. It's pretty good. Now, it's the sunburn is wearing off because when he was at my house, he looked like a ready to eat crab, but it's toning down now. The melanin is kicking in. What little he has.
What's in that pore? It just keeps going, and we see another universe.
Chris, your camera is oh wow.
Jeez, you can see every skin cell.
Count the pores in there. Yeah. That's a pretty good camera. Wow, look at that. It's like this
is not AI.
You
can tell it's not AI.
This is not AI.
Yeah, Chris's forehead has 6 fingers.
I wasn't gonna tell that on stream, but yeah, I signed some books. I gave out some autographs. It was pretty cool.
And I told David Wood to roast him to help his head not get so big. And so David Wood poked him in the stomach and made fun of his pudge. And then Chris was like,
Yep.
I'm losing weight. I'm only eating 500 calories. I'm working out 1,000 calories a day. And so then I texted David. I was like, this is terrible. It's not going. Now he's going to have book signings and he's going to have abs of steel.
Yeah.
Everything's falling apart.
Well, it's funny, and it must be of because Chris. I view Chris as a very meticulous person. He does things with intent at all times. And when he walked in, I had this idea because it was fun. We had the talk one night after a live stream. We were guessing each other's height. And I said, "Well, Chris, don't tell me your height because it will ruin the surprise. Like I want to have the fun of when you walk up. I hope you're not what I expect." Because that would be fun. And then, but when he got here, I was like, oh man, he just kind of looks exactly how I thought. Like, but I didn't think he was chubby. I thought he kind of looked buff to me. So he must have like a good tailor who builds his t-shirts.
He's really not fat. We're just mean to him on the Discord.
No, I got some punch. I got the dad bod for sure.
Anyway, guys, I'm on 1%.
Gotta lose 25 pounds.
So if I just suddenly cut out, it's not because I'm running. I mean, it could be, but I'm prefacing it with.
Are you saying your battery died waiting to get into the wrong room?
Yes, I'm on 1%, so I'll wait it out. But at some point, I will disappear into the night, like some sort of mysterious thing, and that lends validity to my arguments on everything because I'm mysterious. That's how that works.
Let's start a GoFundMe for his phone charger.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah,
I did in fact take retaliation and kissed his milky white side.
This is what I wanted, oh prophet.
Still not as gay as the Night of Al Zoot.
Absolutely true. Muhammad,
Christian Gatsby, do you like coffee?
Me?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I gotta get you. Oh, Chris, you got it right there. The Zut coffee. I gotta get you some Zut coffee.
So, I would love. I'm gonna text you my address.
Okay, do it, because I will.
This is all Zut in Arabic. It's strong, dark, and gives you the energy of 30 men.
I love coffee.
Chieftain.
Okay, I will happily provide you with a lifetime supply, free of charge, of Al Zut coffee.
Of Zut coffee.
I'm waiting to hear from
I handed them out as party favors to the YouTubers.
I want to get
Sarah
zooted up.
On Twitter, and I was like, yeah. If Hatun emailed you today.
Oh, she did? Okay, I haven't checked it yet because I've been a bit busy. That's a thrill for me because to me, like Hatun she's a big deal. She's the real deal. She's proven it several times.
She's fun.
So it's an honor.
She's so legit.
Oh yeah.
I'll tell you guys a story as soon as the stream ends.
Okay.
Christian, you do not need to leave the chat as soon as stream ends. You can wait, and then we can talk after stream ends.
Okay.
You don't have to immediately leave StreamYard. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and call it so I can tell them a story real quick, and we'll all go to bed. All right. See you guys. May the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, the fellowship of the Spirit be with you always.